Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome to the universe. And you might think, hang on, that looks awfully big and black. Well, yeah, it's a universe a long time ago and far, far away. And if you think, well, that doesn't look very specially designed for life, well, maybe. Not quite what the creationists think, but maybe if we take a little bit of a closer look, we'll find something interesting in the galaxy. And, oh, there's little bright bits in the galaxy. And if we zoom in a bit more, we find that, oh, there's some little specks of light in the galaxy. And around one of those little specks of light, there are some planets. And one of those planets has people on it. And it turns out this is where the Earth was on October the 20th, 2006, which was the day that I joined YouTube. And here we are, some 15 years later, and it arrived. So I've got my million subscriber play button, which I will be unwrapping at the end of this stream. Now, of course, I've got to be honest. Look, there are people out there in the wide world, and let's see if we can pull this up. Yeah, there have been people out there who have lost 1 million subscribers in a day, and we're not talking over sophisticated intellectual things. It was about who is selling what lipstick to who. It was basically some drama between some makeup channels, and they lost 1 million subscribers in a day and got them back by the end of the week. So, you know, there are people out there for who 1 million subscribers is not a big deal. And, yeah, likewise, there are toy channels and all this sort of thing there. But, you know, in many ways, one of the things that I've got is I've been around for 15 years. This channel goes back to when Bush was president. So I thought we might take a look back at the history of this channel and how it's actually kind of surprising that it's still here, because this channel goes back to the earliest days of YouTube. And, you know, if you think about it, there really aren't many of us left from this era. And it's sort of one of these things about the longevity of people on YouTube is very short. So just to go on for 15 years and still be getting sort of, well, arguably, I get more views on my videos now than ever before, but just to be around is still quite impressive. And the more so seeing as I have been banned off everything. I am one of the few people who has achieved the trifectorate, the perfect trifectorate of being banned off YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, all by different groups of people sort of gaming the system in one way or another. So with YouTube, I was what was it? It was DMCA abuse got me off YouTube, which is why my icon looks like a glowing bunny, because the bunny was dead and he came back to life after 3 days. That's silver nitrate, by the way, if you're wondering what it does to your fingers. And it's there for the long game. It's there till your skin wears off. Anyway, and then off with Facebook, it was with the Muslims. They managed to get me banned off Facebook for a bit, and with Twitter, it was feminists. So I've tilted a lot of sacred cows over the years. But yeah, in many ways, I probably miss the old YouTube when it really was amateur hour in the no professionalism. It was just guys and their webcams and opinions. I mean, there was so much creativity in that. And, you know, over the years, it's evolved into commercial slash quasi-commercial. And this was always kind of inevitable. But, when it first came along, it wasn't even clear whether YouTube would survive, let alone the actual people who were making videos on there. And, so early YouTube, there was zero ways of making money. And arguably, lots of ways of incurring liability. And there were companies like Viacom and Comedy Central. Back in the day, people fought like death to keep their copyrighted work off YouTube. So you get people like Britney Spears, sort of, DMCAing absolutely everything. No. No one can have our stuff on YouTube. And of course, then Gangnam Style came, the most viewed video in the world. And all of a sudden, it just looked like these people were shooting themselves in the foot by not publicizing their work on platforms like YouTube. But this was back in the day before there was really any commercial stuff on it at all. And people like Comedy Central and Viacom, they tried to shut YouTube down. And I forget the exact details, but it was something like they were sending their employees to the local cyber cafes to upload their own copyrighted material such that they could then sue YouTube for not taking down the copyrighted material. And that sort of ground to a halt. But for a long time, they were very hawkish about keeping their stuff off of YouTube. Nowadays, of course, they put everything on as soon as possible. The things have changed a little. And so it started off with people with just sort of webcams doing sort of funky stuff, and companies started to look at this and think, hang on, maybe there's something to be had in all of this. So you get companies like MTV, and they wanted it in on YouTube. And so they sort of, if you can't beat them, eat them. They sort of employed some of these content providers to make videos for them. One of them I've got written down here is Francesca Ramsey. And it's one of these things, you give some contrived script, even if it's to someone who's well liked on YouTube, it just smells of a quasi-produced old media, and it had none of the freshness of YouTube, none of the rough around the edges stuff. Now, over time, of course, it's got progressively more professional on YouTube. To the point where, hopefully we've actually now got sort of, decent audio, and I can do me transitions between, let's go back to planet Earth. And, actually, we might go for a little tour around the solar system later. But, so that's what I love. So, since then, I've gone, all of us, time goes at the same speed for pretty much all of us. All of us have gone around the sun 15 times, and that's all the history that's happened, and there's been quite a bit of it. Like I was saying, swings and roundabouts. One of the reasons why I got into YouTube was Bush was president at the time, and we just invaded Iraq. And I was working in America at the time, and I was funding this war. I was paying my taxes in America. I was contributing real amount of cash to what was essentially a bogus invasion on the other side of the planet. I mean, I'd listened to all of the propaganda, and it makes interesting parallels with Ukraine. And, the invasion of Ukraine is utterly bullshit. I'm going to make that absolutely clear and completely support the Ukrainians. But, and the Russians in reasons for invading are completely bogus as well. But, if you're being honest, the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, actually Afghanistan was more of a maybe pile, but Iraq was kind of like invading Mexico after Pearl Harbor. It didn't really make any sense. And whilst the war was won very efficiently in Iraq, the peace was given nowhere near the same attention. So the whole thing just festered. And, the failure is evident nowhere as clearly as in Afghanistan, where after whatever it was, 15, 20 years in Afghanistan, America pulls out and the whole thing collapses in, 2 weeks or something. And this is an important lesson that you can't just go into a country and change their culture. That's they can do that voluntarily, if they get their smartphones, their lifestyle changes and all that sort of thing. But you can't just go in and, boom. So, back in the day, I was making videos about creationists because there were an awful lot of creationists. Early days of YouTube, they absolutely ruled the roost, and they were the king of confident what would now be called fake news. A lot of these terms, by the way, when they start, they have some meaning and value, and eventually they just get overused and misused to the point where they have almost no sensible meaning at all. And that's basically what the creationist videos were. They would just spew all of this stuff, which was very easy to check and show was bullshit. And they absolutely dominated early YouTube. So I was one of the ones who, first in there to start showing that actually no, you can show very, very easily that this is all bullshit. And it was from then I sort of decided that this is all before anyone could make any money off it. Of course, everyone was in it because they believed in stuff in the early days, which again, it's a refreshing tinge that that's been lost on YouTube. But there was the intent to make these videos long tail, such that they would be as valid in 5 years as they were today. And for a long time that was actually kind of true. There was no understanding of social media was fairly new back then, so there was no real understanding of what the hell you were doing. You just sort of hoped you made decent videos and people liked watching them, and that seemed to sort of work. Nowadays it's got very algorithmic, and there are seasonal changes that come with the algorithm, and sometimes you're the Louisville Slugger, and sometimes you're the Bull. Sometimes it all comes together, and sometimes you're losing it all. But I've been on here for a while, like generational levels. I've actually lost 2 friends whilst I've been here on YouTube. The first one was Happy Cabby. That was a long time ago. Very, very few, I think, people would actually remember him. But DPR Jones, he was he was there in the early days, and he was a copyright lawyer and helped me out with some of the early copyright things, and we became friends. And he was a solid guy, was DPR, and sorely missed. And also almost the same age as me, which is it's hard losing friends when they're the same age as you. All of a sudden that rattles you a bit. So, and of course, you have to excuse me. I'm at the tail end of a cold. Typical bad luck. Years of a pandemic, I never test positive for it once, and then at the end of it, I get 2 of the most foul, chained one after the other, foul, long-running flus. Neither of them COVID, but I'm a bit sniffly, so you'll please have to excuse me on that. I lost both my parents as well. But 15 years is a long time, and well, yeah. So who do we go through? We went through Bush when it was held that Bush was one of the stupidest presidents that America had ever had, and it was sort of incomprehensible, blah, 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 that anyone would be worse. And who was next up? But, the fear of Sarah Palin becoming the vice president of America, one heartbeat away from the presidency, and she was anti-science, and did all this sort of thing where priests would lay hands on her to let the Holy Spirit flow through her, and it's like, are you really sure these are the people you want actually in control? And not only that, I've been through 2 pandemics, well, 1.5 really, but so during one of these, a decade or so ago, there was the swine flu. And the swine flu was a lot nastier than COVID. It killed like 1 in 3, 1 in 5 or something. And there was a hairy moment there where it wasn't clear whether that was going to spread, and of course it didn't, and everyone sort of patted themselves on the back, and so, there wasn't any real danger at all. And it's like, actually, I'm pretty sure. Viruses have been with mankind for the entire, viruses have been with life for the entire history of the planet. They're not going to be out-evolved now. And with all the all of the technology of mankind, we've only ever managed to successfully eliminate one virus, the smallpox, which was bloody horrific. But it's so bizarre that you get all of these vaccine deniers, and you would have thought that coronavirus would have been a turning point for them, but apparently not even slightly. This, if anything, amplified the anti-vax movement, and probably the problem was it didn't kill enough people. It only killed like 1% of the people. Even if you look at it, the coarse grain numbers now, it's still 1% roughly of the people who are being tested positive died. And most of those were old people. And that, your average person has not 100 friends, so not all those are old people. So most people don't actually know someone who died from it. I know friends of friends who died from it. I know people who got very sick with it, to the point where they were almost on intubation. But, if it killed 5% of people or 10%, then all of a sudden, people would probably take it a little bit more seriously. But with the beginning of the war, that was all pimped out on things like the danger of chemical weapons and how they could be deployed against the United Kingdom within 45 minutes. And I knew, right, this was wall-to-wall propaganda news in the West, and chemical weapons just are not that nasty. The reason they're banned by almost everyone isn't because they're inhumane or anything. I assure you that, so blowing holes in people with little pieces of metal, not the nicest way to die either. But with chemical weapons, they conjure a fear, but, the main reason they're not used is because they're not very good as weapons. This is why no one had any problem in banning them. Why would you ban chemical weapons and not regular bullets? Because they're inhumane? It's like, no. So you've got numerous problems. First of all, chemical weapons is a dispersal problem. And if you actually just do the calculations for how much you need to attack a decent-sized area, you need tanker trucks of the stuff to actually have an effective attack. You need sort of plants churning the stuff out, shipping it to the lines and shelling it onto the enemy. And even at that, a slight change in the wind direction, and all of a sudden the nerve gas doesn't sit where you want it to, but it blows back onto your troops. And if the enemy gets wind that you're stockpiling chemical weapons, that's when they tend to shell you, because obviously if they destroy the chemical weapons whilst they're sat in your weapons depots, this is a bad day to be the attacker. And so, this whole thing that, you get Colin Powell with his little vial saying, this could destroy a city, that was anthrax. The biological stuff is different, but Not greatly, unless it's viruses, of course. But I'll do another video on the viruses sometime. Yeah, ironically, changing the sequence of the viruses isn't particularly the challenging bit. How it actually manifests in the body, that you can't really predict. That's beyond all human technology. And then you've got how it actually spreads from one person to another. And this is way beyond human technology. So, and even if you could engineer, you don't have to engineer viruses. They've been with us for 4.5 billion years. They do this thing pro bono. They do it for free. Anyway, so yeah, I was severely nonplussed about the bogus propaganda that took us into the war in Iraq. Bizarrely enough, some of it comes around again with Russia and Ukraine, where they claim that Ukraine has chemical weapons, and it's like, this is just bullshit, guys. And also, call me crazy, but I've got a suspicion, having seen the absolutely abysmal performance of the Russian troops in the field, where, you know, they really couldn't maneuver beyond a 20-kilometer supply line or something. With a military in that state of disrepair, there is a very real chance that they don't even have functioning nukes, which you might think, well, you got to be kidding me, they have the largest nuclear stockpile on Earth. Well, yeah, but nukes require quite a lot of maintenance. They, to get nukes to go off is a very finely tuned process. Even slight things going wrong, and you don't get a nuclear explosion anymore, you just get a fizzle. And do you know how much America spends per nuke per year just to keep them maintained? It's about $10 million per year is just the maintenance cost for a single nuclear weapon. Now you take a look at Russia. Back in the days when the USSR was collapsing, which is like 30 years ago now, the big concern then was these nukes, which were arguably functional, would make their way into terrorist hands because, you know, if you've got a broke country and they can sell a nuclear missile for a few $1 million, then this is a problem. But, you know, I don't see them spending that sort of cash maintaining their nukes. And so there are all sorts of things that can go wrong with these. So I'll just give you one example. When you get your compression to a critical mass, that's not enough. You need some neutrons at the point where it's actually a critical mass. Otherwise, not a lot happens. And so you need tritium, and deuterium, I think, is used as a sort of neutron producer. And those are, tritium's got a half-life of like 10 years or something. So, it's... And Russia seems to be really overcompensating with a lot of these things. So, like 2 weeks into the war and it's going terribly for them, they launch a hypersonic missile at like a shed or something. Yeah, well, weapons depot, whatever, doesn't matter. You didn't need a hypersonic missile to do this. And if you were going to lay into someone with your best weaponry, you do that in the first few days of the invasion, not, a couple of weeks later randomly. And likewise, Russia test-fired their intercontinental ballistic missile earlier, the last few days or something. And again, this seems overcompensating. But if they just done the test and blah, 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 blah. No, they publicized the test. They publicized that they were using a hypersonic missile. Hypersonic missiles really aren't that much use. It's like they're just intercontinental ballistic missiles, so they go very fast when they're high in the atmosphere, and then you do a bit of control on the way down. That's basically it. The only real difference. So the B-2s, World War II. They were fired from. Let's do it this way around. They were fired from France or something. They went up and they come down, and they drop about a ton of explosive on London or something. And when they went out, they're only a powered flight for like, a minute or so, and the rest of it was a ballistic trajectory. So in principle, you could shoot them down. In reality, you couldn't, because by the time they were coming down, they were traveling at about 2.5 times the speed of sound. And they did all these calculations about, couldn't we like fire a load of flak there to destroy them on the way down? No, it's just the amount of stuff you have to shoot off, and where it lands will do more damage than any potential damage the missile could do. So felt like there was a lot of overcompensation coming from Russia. Anyway, that's current day. We're still back in the Sarah Palin era, where she was super critical of, was it fruit fly research? And they're like one of these standard organisms where they're used as a genetic model. And she was just laughing at, can you believe we're spending money on fruit fly research? And it's like, yeah, that's one of the core model species in genetics. Anyway, so it was during that time that I did a lot of the Why Do People Laugh at Creationist videos. And it was also during that time that I got drunk once, as you sometimes do, and a little more drunk than normal. And the next day, not quite hungover. I was hungover if I moved, but if I stayed very still, it wasn't too bad. And during this time came to me, the myth of the great space vegetable, which is basically a sort of creation myth. Now, everyone sort of creates God in their own image in all of these stories. In this one, there isn't really a sort of God. There's no sort of devil, but it's a very beautiful story, which one of these days, right? So I wrote it all down, and then it was like a dream. I forgot about it completely, and then I found it again a few years later. And it is one of these things. I'm still determined one of these days to actually make that into a video, because it's a beautiful story. Anyway, so it was about that sort of time, the atheist community was solidifying on YouTube, and they had kind of their first schism. This is a universal thing that you'll get with all of these things. There's sort of pendulums about, people will gather together and then they'll split apart and so forth. And this was the first of the schisms in the atheist community, which was a relatively minor schism. And it was about Islam. And roughly the two camps were, we should be nice to the moderate Muslims, and then everything will be hunky-dory. And then there was the one which I was in, and it's like, actually, no, by the time you've got any community that can actually feel people crazy enough to fly planes into buildings, there are limits to how tolerant you can be to certain stuff. And so I was in the more hawkish side of these things. And I got a lot of flack from that back in the day. Interestingly enough, it was a similar sort of thing in the UK. There were those who wanted to be very inclusive about these things. And eventually this did lead to these sort of firebrand preachers who would, go and say that Islam will rule over the UK, the black flag will wave over number 10, and all knees will bow, blah, blah, blah. And this is like, curiously enough, a few years later, they had the 7/7 bombings, and this flipped the UK into the, actually, no, we're not going to be that tolerant of this sort of thing. And a load of these firebrand preachers, they all got arrested. I mean, it was bloody crazy. They were sort of going around with their signs, so, behead those who insult Islam and the such like. And it's like, I'm fairly liberal in the free speech thing, but this is pushing it kind of a bit. And that was about the time of Draw Muhammad Day, which started off with some woman in Seattle, I think, And she just did it as a laugh on Facebook. And of course, like some of these things do, it just massively snowballed. And she got loads of death threats, and even in the end took it all down. And so at the time, I was anonymous, right? And I was not anywhere near so naive to think that my anonymity would last forever. But it's like, well, yeah, but we're still kind of anonymous at the moment. So yeah, I sort of moved forward with the Draw Muhammad Day thing, and did it for about 3 years in a row. And it's just basically the most spoofy way that you can draw Muhammad, which apparently is this is forbidden in Islam. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not in Islam, and I think all those beliefs are crazy. And so yeah, and it was during that time that I also started getting some fairly serious death threats. And of course, at the time, say nothing, do nothing. Right? If you're doing this stuff seriously, you report it to the FBI, and the FBI took it seriously, and they took they made notes of where all these things were coming. Made some subpoenas to yes, it was coming from the Middle East and all that sort of thing. And for a long time, I had their contact details in my wallet. But over time, this is the thing. If it's this was back in the era of Charlie Hebdo, so it was very easy to laugh and say, yes, this was a silly internet stuff. But yeah, not entirely. And yeah, so after that, there was the other one about burning Qurans, which book burning puts a lot of hackles up the wrong way, because it goes back to the sort of Nazi era stuff where book burning was basically about destroying the information. But this really doesn't have a lot of relevance in the internet age, where a little whatever SD card like that holds your entire genome is about a gigabyte. That's 64 gigabytes there, and it'll hold like a lot of books. So is deleting what's on an SD card the same thing as book burning? And so this is kind of what I did, is I copied, I had a hard drive that I was getting rid of. I copied, I think, 40,000 copies of the Quran onto the hard drive, and then burned the hard drive. And this sort of short circuits people's brains and highlights the whole absurdity of the thing, that can you really get upset? But by this sort of definition, anyone who reads the Quran online is deleting or burning the Quran, because your cache is deleted once you sort of go off the websites and all that sort of thing. So that was kind of fun. And at the time, I was anonymous, and then I got doxxed. And one of the first things that happened, of course, is one of these Muslim guys who I'd had a bit of a spaff with had immediately wrote to the university to try and get me fired. And it's like, that's nice. And not only that, he wrote to all of the local Muslim groups and told them where I worked. And so that was the end of anonymity. Now, as it turns out, it didn't actually make a lot of difference, because I'd been working at Cornell at the time, and I'd been working there for the best part of 10 years. But the grants had basically, we ran out of money, and so no money, no job. I had to go back to Europe anyway, and I had another job lined up. But, I would have given them coin flipping chances that had I, not moved on anyway, right? He legitimately contacted. I had calls with the dean of whatever science or director of the university or something. I can't remember. But anyway, they were taking it seriously, and Yeah, if I hadn't already have left, I give it coin flipping chances. I'd have been fired, but it was never put to the test. And yeah, I mean, this is back in the day when cancel culture actually meant something. Yeah, these terms get overused to the point. Yeah, Russia. Yeah, after they'd invaded Ukraine and everyone's putting embargoes on them, they say that yeah, they're trying to cancel Russia. It's cancel. Yeah, everything is cancel culture, and it's like actually no. Sometimes these things actually these things are contingent on the circumstances. If you're trying to get someone fired because they said something you didn't like about their religion, this is kind of different to, you invaded someone's country or something. Anyway, and when you think about it, right, what was I doing at Cornell? It was studying aqueous solutions via neutron scattering. And what this is really going to be your great moment of victory is you get a scientist fired from doing that sort of thing because you didn't like them deleting 40,000 copies of the Quran by fire. The thermite, as it turns out. It's a piece of footage I've used again and again over the years that so I made up a thermite mixture, but it was a thermite mixture that basically burned sugar. So it's a sugar and an oxidant, and the amount of sugar that was being burned was about the amount of sugar that your body consumes in a day. So this is a very graphic representation of how much sugar, how much energy and carbon dioxide your body produces in a day, and it's very impressive. I think it's called burning metabolism. Anyway, so it's a sort of dual purpose thing like that. Now, up to this point, yeah, making money on YouTube has been virtually impossible because everyone, it's now got to the point where if you were a partner, you could make money, but you had to be super squeaky clean about fair use. Really wasn't that much of a thing on early YouTube. And YouTube was very diligent. Yeah, if you didn't own absolutely the copyright to everything, monetization, no go. So I mean, this is still I'm making relatively small amounts of money. So after years of this, and I'm actually leaving America anyway, I get what for me is my dream telescope, which is I've still got it. It's the 11-inch Schmidt Cassegrain, the Sky Cannon, and I toured America with it, all the dark sky sites, and that was glorious. And I got some decent videos out of that as well. Let's see if we can take a look. This was actually let's come back to Celestia for a sec, and I will show you here we go. What it looked like. So there's the Earth, and obviously the bit that points towards the sun is day, and the bit that points outwards is night. So this point here is going to be sunset. This bit's sunrise. So when Jupiter is basically off in this direction, that's when you can video Jupiter for an entire night. And seeing as Jupiter rotates in about 8 hours or so, you can actually video the whole thing. And so if we come out to there's Jupiter, and it needs to be when America is there, and I think okay, this might go hideously wrong. Slower, there we go. Faster, there we go. Solar system in motion. And let's see if I can, this is dangerous as well. Let's go H and center and tracking, I think. And okay. So it's about there, basically. When there's the Earth and Jupiter's over here. So that's the point, and that needs to be in summer in America. And I got lucky, and that's what it was. and I sat there all night long, freezing my ass off. And then you got to process all the video afterwards, and you got something, lots of processing of the video, and you got that. And yeah, so you could see the great red spot, and the moon is Io. Yeah. And so these frames were 3 minutes apart, so you actually see the moon and the shadow of the moon. And I did this again actually this year. It's amazing how much Jupiter changes. It's the sky cannon, and this is the time lapse of me doing it for the whole night. There's the Earth spins and all that sort of thing. So that, I mean, this for me was this was the shit. And I also, whilst out there, did several other things, which, yeah, I did a time lapse of Uranus. Yes, I know, Uranus. And again, it was a whole night thing. So you get these awesome Milky Ways out in the desert. This was at Lassen. And that's the moon. That's the moon there. That's Uranus there. This is the telescope pointing at it. And you do the time lapse. And not only can you see the moons of Uranus moving, but you actually see Uranus moving against the background stars, which is, it's kind of fun. So, and yeah, Jupiter is very bright, naked eye stuff. And then also, so this was 2011. I got to do a time lapse of a supernova. So this is the great thing. So this is one of the slowest, most time-intensive things that I've ever done. So every night you have to go out there and take a frame, take a picture of this galaxy. So this is the galaxy that we were looking at, and that's the supernova. So if we come back, yeah. And you have to go and take a picture every night, and those pictures can take 6 to 8 hours to do. Yeah, they take a long time, and yeah, so that's the longest, most energy-intensive time lapse I've ever done. And on the flip side, I filmed things on this channel. I think the fastest stuff that I did was the ultrasound of water, which was filmed at 70,000 frames per second. It's kind of fun. And also, this is much later. There was the transit of Venus, which is, there's not going to be another one of these in our lifetime.
So that just,
well, not unless there's a lot of medical advances. And so this was actually in Hawaii, which was awesome. And yeah, that's Venus sat there going across the. Again, it takes all day for. Yeah, there you go. That was Venus, and then I've got a decent solar telescope. And
yeah, when I looked at this,
yeah, decent solar telescope. So yeah, I've done some fun stuff over the years with the astro things. Yeah. Show me something nice on the surface of. Yeah, this is like 10 minutes. So things, the sun is super active. When you get one of these flares going off, the problem is you never know when one's going to happen. You can actually watch them move in real time, which is incredible. You know, these massive storms, and yeah, you get these little hoppers where it's just sort of shooting down the magnetic fields, and yeah, other little hoppy things. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I digress a little. Little fire tornado-y things, apart from, you know, the size of the Earth on this, by the way, is like, yeah, it'll happily sit inside one of these things. And more recently, this was actually here in the Czech Republic. This is the same telescope looking at Mars, one of the recent conjunctions, and yeah, it's
and the opportunity rate.
It's pretty awesome. You actually get to see the volcanoes on Mars, and Yeah. So one of those is from Celestia, and one of those is actually with a regular telescope from within a city, and yeah, it takes all night long. And if you had really good eyes, that's what you would see if you looked up at the sky. And yeah, the one of the big guys there. This here is the largest volcano in the solar system. That's the moon, for reference. Yeah. Anyway, so after not being fired because of Islam, I then started working in the Czech Republic, where it was the feminists who tried to get me fired, and they were much more persistent. But fortunately, the institute where I worked at took a long, hard think about it and said, "What the hell's this crap about?" And it's like, "What the hell are you boys on?" So yeah, that was awesome. But I get ahead of myself. Before then, the first schism in the atheist community was Islam. The second and far the second and far more deadly blight was feminism, which absolutely destroyed the atheist community. Not in any minor way, it annihilated it. Right? Decimation. Right? Decimation is a old Roman punishment where you have to kill 10% of your own battalion to, as a punishment to show how loyal you are or something. Kill 10%. Decimation. This was, I don't know what it would be called, 90%ification. That's the sort of impact this had on the atheist community. And it was all over the most petty crap. So there was this woman, Rebecca Watson, and she had become kind of popular in the atheist community and decides that everyone needs to be very nice to women. And so one of these conferences, she hangs out in a bar till 4 a.m. And if you hang out in a bar till 4 a.m, it's kind of expected that someone might hit on you at that point. But then she's going back to her room, and someone basically offers her to go back to their place for coffee. I mean, it's obviously euphemisms and all that sort of thing. And from this was the evidence that the atheist community, it was never clear whether the guy offering the coffee was part of the conference or not. But apparently this was the evidence that the atheist community was just ridden with sexism. And yeah, there were those who rallied to this cause and those who, it's like, look, the atheist community up to that point, it had been kind of a therapy session, right? Living in America can be kind of hard if you're an atheist, because there are an awful lot of very, very convicted, determined Christians and creationists, and it can be for them going to the conferences was like letting their hair down. They didn't have to pretend anymore, and it was great. And then all of a sudden they go to these conferences and it's like, no, now you have to listen about feminism. It's like, I came here to get away from the religious crazy people. I don't want, this isn't why I'm here. And so first of all, there was just the direct battle, and that became sufficiently toxic that basically everyone else lost interest. And there was no place where this was as evident as with the Reason Rally. There were two of these Reason Rallies. I'm blanking on the years now. I'm going to guess 2008 and like 5 or so years later or something. Basically, yeah, well, one was before the schism, and that was an exciting place to be. 30,000-ish people, that sort of ballpark numbers. And the second Reason Rally, which was after the schism, got like 2. It was literally a sort of 90% reduction in the number of people who went. And it was basically they're overused at this point. But yeah, this was in the days of go woke, go broke. Now things like this are just so overused. But yeah. Yeah, you could say similar things about with Islam. There was overswing with this. If you're ever on the side who is actually feeling people who are crazy enough to go and shoot people, like say for instance in New Zealand, maybe time to think about who's actually the radicals here, or who has the more radical community. And yeah. With the atheist community, the feminism just destroyed it. Odds to make me a pariah at the conferences, which, as far as I was concerned, it's like, and where's the downside of this for me? You know, I have never cared about. I didn't live in a part of America where it was hugely religious and you had to pretend to be religious just to get along. So it was. Okay. It says there is an error in the stream. Okay. Let's keep going and see if error. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, it looks okay. Have I frozen? You're gonna seems stream is fine. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna keep going. Where were we at? Okay, so yeah, super. I get an error on this, but if it's all fine, we're gonna keep going. I got stuck into the feminism stuff, and this was about the era of Anita Sarkeesian, and the thing that really put her on the map is there weren't really ways you could make money off things like YouTube at the time. And all of a sudden she comes along and she does one of these crowdfunders and she gets $160,000, which was absolutely unheard of money at the time for what was basically making vapid criticisms about video games. And if you looked at her previous criticisms, yeah, they were kind of equally vapid. And yeah, this put a lot of hackles up at the time. And the more so seeing as it was such an undeserved person to get such amounts of money. Now, it was about that sort of time that there was a transition that, you know, previously trying to earn money off of YouTube made you, hang on, let me just check something. Yeah, made you a, what do they call it? A e-beggar. There we go. And this was terrible. To be an e-beggar basically meant you're a sellout, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, this is not even thought of. It's expected that people make money off YouTube. Back then, not so much. So when Sarkeesian suddenly gets this huge sum of money for basically doing nothing, a lot of very, very unhappy people. And yeah, this sort of rolled into Gamergate, which for me was like a complete meh. All right, so I was actually a fairly dedicated gamer back in the day, and fairly good at it as well. But it was all first-person shooter stuff, and the idea of reading games journalists, nah. These people had no interest for me, and the fact that they're all soppy writing garbage didn't bother. Yeah, even if they were corruptly writing garbage, this was like the Francesca Ramsey and the MTV stuff. They were producing garbage. I didn't really greatly care. But you know, that kicked off a whole sort of movement on its own. And yeah, this was about the time that the feminists tried to get me fired and had letter writing campaigns to the university where I worked. And it was, yeah, I still get stories about, how my boss would get sort of summoned every other week to, sort of discuss these letters. And yeah, they were very cool about it. It's like, yeah, this is um, the guy does good research, and these criticisms are so contrived that this is what you would probably call legitimate, cancel culture, but before it was actually called cancel culture. Again, another one of those terms that's massively overused these days. But there was also, it was about this time when, the Gamergate thing was, picking up steam, that it was becoming more, Sarkeesian was sort of right about this. They eventually just became a cottage industry criticizing it, which, originally it had pretty decent grounds and all that sort of thing. But in the end, it was, she was the butt of the joke. I mean, rightfully so, but, yeah, and it was at times like this that people weren't just sort of criticizing what was out there. They were actually sort of going out and manufacturing stuff. And this was about the time when I and others was looking around at the way the wind was blowing. Remember what I was saying? You got to look around at what is your community here, and there is a time to jump ship. And yeah, that was for me the quitting skepticism moment, which turned into an almighty shit show. I lost a lot of subscribers during that as well, like 50,000 subscribers or something I lost. But meanwhile, if you take a look at the where that community has gone on to since, I wasn't the only one to, how shall we say, throw in the towel there. There was another guy at the time who was instrumental. He was core in the start of Gamergate, and it was a guy called Mr. Metica, internet aristocrat. He went out by the time, and he also, it's like, nah, this is this has kind of lost its way. It's been sort of hijacked by people milking this. And you take a look around who was actually core in the community at the time. It's people like Lauren Southern, Milo Yiannopoulos, Laura Loomer, Baked Alaska, Computing Forever, Mundane Matt, Ralph Retort, Andy Worski, and Sargon Picard. And I've also got in here, who were there at the time, but they sort of also saw the way the wind was blowing. I've got Sean Head, internet aristocrat, and to an extent, Jonathan Pye. He was also one of these ones who smelled the way things were going. That initially he was all for the calling out the feminist bullshit, but later on, he was fairly critical, especially of people like Sargon, when it was getting kind of toxic. And you take a look at like where these people went. Lauren Southern, soon after I quit, she was firing rockets, fireworks at ships picking up immigrants in the Mediterranean. And it's like, is this really helping? Milo Yiannopoulos, well, there's a story. Laura Loomer ended up sort of storming on stage at Shakespeare in the Park. And it's like one of those things. If you go to a play and you go and start shouting and disrupting the performance, and then claim when you're being thrown out that this is cancel culture and everyone is Goebbels, I think they called them at the time. You're kind of manufacturing the news at this point. And Baked Alaska, he ended up actually inside the Capitol building on whatever, the 6th of January, computing forever. A lot of these guys made huge transitions from, skeptic community to anti-social justice warrior to alt-right to some of these went completely off the deep end into race realism and computing forever. He found God at the end of all of this. There are these wonderful metaphors about first you take the red pill, then the black pill, but this is just a transition into taking the God pill. And remember what I was saying. There comes this point when you take a look around at the people, and it's like, this isn't going to go anywhere. Monday Matt had one of the most fantastic story arcs on YouTube. And so there is always a compromise here. It makes you sound very aloof when you say it, that great minds discuss ideas, mediocre minds discuss incidents, and small minds discuss people. And so in current terms, you could discuss the tactics of war, or you could discuss how they're implemented in Russia, or you could discuss how Putin's hair is falling out because of the war or something, right? But we're biologically hardwired to that end of the spectrum. A lot of what goes on in here is geared up to living in societies. People love the drama and the such like. This is why people can lose 1 million subscribers over who sells what lipstick to who. And for this, Mundane Matt was a fantastic story. And the one thing that you can do with this absolute heresy on YouTube is basically flag people. Because it's the most antisocial thing that you can do, let alone actually successfully flag people. And Monday Matt was on one of these streams, and they basically accused him of flagging people. He said, no. And they say, right, show us your flagging history. And he shows them the flagging history. And of course, there's a gazillion of flagged videos in there. And so he is instantly so busted. And like, unforgivable sins. Right? And to his credit, he soldiered on for years. And a man who rises always rises when knocked down is, even if you don't particularly like the guy, this is an admirable quality. And years later, it turns out the guy who actually sort of exposed him was this Ralph guy. This is recent. This is like within the last few months or so. It's a complete turnaround that, Monday Matt is the guy who everyone hates, so he's just hosting the stream as someone who is neutral. And it turns out the guy who busted him has actually been flagging everything and won't show anyone their flagging history and then just quits and leaves. Very entertaining stuff. And Andy Worski, he also went off the rails into the race realism stuff. Then didn't like where it was going, started live streaming his life, and ended up with somebody pointing a gun at someone after a punch up in a bar or something. It's a very famous aim thing. And then it looks like he has also kind of sort of partially redeemed himself like Monday Matt, and is getting things back together again. And also, interestingly enough, of people I speak highly about, I mean, Metica is one of the ones who has rarely put a foot wrong online. If you're going to bet on anyone, bet on Metica. And he's been doing well recently as well. Anyway, so it was about that time that for me, I didn't like the way the wind was blowing. I got the hell out of Dodge, the skeptic community, which wasn't actually much of a skeptical community, if you're being honest. It's I had this was the way that I eventually managed to communicate to one of my feminist friends. You do actually have them. Why don't you call yourself a feminist? And it's like, well, basically for the same reason don't call myself a skeptic. When this is what the skeptics look like, I don't. Technically, it's guilt by association, but guilt by association is actually really a thing that it's usually right because correlation does normally equal causation. Might be a logical fallacy, but it's also normally true. As are things like appeals to authority. It's like, well, yeah, technically it's a logical fallacy, but I still want to go to a dentist to get my teeth seen to. So, and yeah, that's when I moved on to the busting videos. Actually, there's one last thing. Of all the people who survived sort of generationally on YouTube, Lacey Green was one of the interesting ones. So she sort of went on to the sort of social justice warrior side of things. And then, the bit that really impressed me is I saw one of these videos of her some time ago where she was basically saying that she wanted to give up all the YouTube stuff and go to university, which, instantly this appeals to me. I like people doing stuff like that. And the thing that I despise is people who live their entire lives on, they don't exist unless they're streaming their lives. There's this dystopian, what is it? Don't Look Up or Black Mirror stuff where it's the ending scene on Don't Look Up. So the entire world's been destroyed by an asteroid or something, and the last man alive crawls out from the ruins, and of course he can't just get out of the ruins and be alive. He has to get out of the ruins and stream himself on Facebook. Yeah, I know it's a little hypocritical, seeing as I'm actually on stream now doing this. But it's also one of those interesting things that a lot of people, to be successful, you've got to appear on screen because people relate to things. I'm not particularly photogenic. I don't see there's a lot of merit in having me on the screen. But bizarrely enough, I did actually think about at one point getting some beautiful girl to do the hosting part, but and no. Maybe not. Which brings us on to, having moved on from the skeptics community. Actually, one last thing before we did that. I got drunk again recently and was looking at what the hell happened to feminist frequency. And it turns out they still make videos weekly, and they pull in like 1,000 videos a pop or something. So it's like, whatever. Their 15 minutes is over. So I actually wrote to them asking if they wanted to do a stream, sort of post-mortem stream. I've not made a video on feminism for like 5 years or something. And curiously enough, she never wrote back, and wasn't particularly surprised by that. But after that, I checked out, they do an annual report. And it turns out that it's crazy looking back that all of the initial furore was about her getting $160,000 to basically do nothing, and she did that was over several years. Guess how much they make now? And it was about $300,000 per year, and their output is basically they do a blog stream criticizing, I don't know, Star Trek or something once a week, and it's in terms of people who get the most crazy amount of support for and like this now makes a lot more sense that why would I want to talk to you when I'm getting all this cash for basically doing precious little. So having ditched the feminism stuff, actually, it was about this time that other things that tell you that the society is getting progressively more radicalized and maybe it's time to get out is there was a guy called Phil Moriarty who was a professor at Nottingham, mortal enemy as it turns out, and he. We vigorously disagreed on all the feminism stuff. He was pro-feminism, I was very anti it. And they were writing to get him fired or something. And at that point, it's like, yeah, this is, first of all, this is time to get out. But also, I can tell you this now because this is years past. I actually wrote to their head of department just to make sure that he knew this was all internet bullshit and he shouldn't be taking it seriously in the slightest. And also, seeing as he was an astronomer, me and also both interested in the communication of science and the such like, we bonded instantly because we used the same sorts of telescopes for hobbies and had a lot of common interests. So but that was another time. The reason why, time to be leaving, time to be moving on, and that's why I got into the busting videos. And this was about the time that Patreon kicked in. And all Patreon completely changed things in that now, previous up to that point, there would be no credible way that you could have lived off the ad revenue of the channel. None. But Patreon sort of changes that completely, and now it makes this, this is maybe a viable proposition. And it was also about the same time YouTube was sort of relaxing the how strict they were about copyright, and it was actually easier to get videos under fair use. This is now swung back, by the way. I'll tell you about that shortly. But this is where we get into busting everything. Going back to the early days where, what do we have? Not that one. We want, I think, not the Boring Company valuation. God, no. The busting series. There we go. Excellent. From the start, where it's thorium-powered cars and solar roadways, and you take a look at the value of some of these things, right? The solar roadways took in about $2 million on Indiegogo, and got another $2 million off the government. And all they basically did was burn capital to make some crappy little mock-up. And there's a gazillion of these things. The powdered alcohol and air plastic. And eventually, very quickly, we got onto the Hyperloop. And the reason I got onto the Hyperloop is because one of the guys in the office said, this is an amazing new form of transport. And I took one look at it and said, nah, no, it's not. I had these flashbacks of when I was a kid, teenager. My dad explaining to me that, actually now you take the air out, there's no real limit to the speed so you can go. And since then, I've actually found this video clip from, someone sent it to me from 2002, and it's a Swiss loop thing. And it's exactly the Hyperloop 10 years before Elon Musk invented it. Even at that, it wasn't a new idea. It goes way back. And so, we shift, the free water from air devices. Damn. And a lot of these things, there were real amounts of money plowed into these things. Ironically, a lot of them were just capital burning machines, but there was the Ark Encounter. That was $150 million someone spent basically building that as a theme park. But at least it's a sort of functional business. You take a look at some of the other stuff that I busted, like these the food scanner or whatever it was. They spent $20 million, or they raised $20 million for the food scanner, and ended up with basically nothing. And none of this goes. The Hyperloop was $500 million went into that, and they're going to end up with nothing. They're going to end up with a few things that they burned the capital to make little crappy demos of, and nowhere is this as vividly seen as in my most recent video, the Cult of Musk, where it's basically a complete rip into the Boring Company, where they start off and they're going to make tunnels 10 times cheaper than everyone else, 10 times faster than everyone else. They're going to run things 10 times cheaper in the tunnels. They're going to be all things to all people. And then they deliver the slow-moving underground taxi rank that's slower than regular tunnels to dig, they spend like 6 months just getting across a car lot. There is zero prospect that this will ever be any use whatsoever. And does anyone have any guess as to what the value of the Boring Company currently is? And it's about $6 billion. And yeah, this is just peak vaporware. This makes solar roadways seem like the pocket change, little money. You take a look at the biggest things that the Boring Company has done, which is the very small Vegas loop system, which cost $50 million to dig. The company is valued at $6 billion, right? You could dig 20 Vegas loop type systems and only spend $1 billion. And its value is 6 times that. It's completely delusional valuations on these things. And yeah, the same is also largely, Tesla is massively overvalued. You take, Tesla is, sort of 50, 100 times overvalued, that sort of thing. And Musk is still, right? He's had a lot of bump in the press recently, and he's going along saying that the Tesla bot, the man in dancing spandex, this is going to be a far bigger thing than people just don't understand how big a effect Optimus, this the dancing spandex man, will have on society. Well, the artificial intelligence they're going to put in this, and it's like they were promising it in what is it? It's like 3 months now. They're not going to have anything. In fact, it's one of the things I've got planned. My little ways of, how shall we say, clapping back, trolling back at Trump is I'm going to order myself one of those lycra suit things. Yeah, this might be interesting. And also, the video I made last year, that any of these little toy robots would be able to do at least as much as the Tesla bot can. And I'll bet you they actually do more. So I'm going to order all those little robots, and we will see. Who is the victor in all of this? Now, of course, during all of this, once we got onto the point where Patreon was actually bringing in money, all of a sudden I had a lot more latitude in terms of, I could justify spending more time actually making the videos, and also when it came to the research, I could do some really interesting stuff. This actually started way back. This goes back to 2015, but the actual sodium, this was me buying the sodium and potassium, which started a great line of events, which if the wind blows the right way, will save the planet. Maybe we'll see. So this was working out how sodium explodes in water. Sodium shouldn't explode in water because you've got the water on one side, the metal on the other, and they can only react on the interface between the two. And when they do, they generate a gas, hydrogen, and sodium hydroxide, which keeps them separate. It shouldn't explode. It's a self-limiting reaction. It doesn't. It explodes very, very convincingly. And you film it with a high-speed camera, and you see these spikes. And right, so later on, this went on to. This is in. So that one we got published in Nature Chemistry. And these all acknowledge the donations or the support from YouTube.
I think
and the transparent aluminum, this is, or transparent metal, this is sodium potassium alloy reacting with water slowly. So initially, that green stuff that you see there, that's actually potassium gas coming off. And it goes black, and it's like, doesn't look very shiny anymore. So how did something that was metal like a fraction of a second ago, right? It was nice and metal when we put it in, and then it goes black, and then it goes from black to colorless, and then it explodes. And yeah, so this is sodium exploding in water, which explodes quite convincingly. Anyway, so we worked out what happens there is you're actually getting water diffusing into the metal, and you're getting very concentrated solvated electron solutions there in water, which that one we got published in another fairly high Angevante Chemie, which again, many thanks to everyone on YouTube for that. And yeah, then maybe the metallic water stuff we actually got published in Science, which again, a lot of these things won't mean a lot to a lot of people. They just like something no one's read these things. So, but Science is actually like one of the world's top scientific journals, and yeah, we got stuff published there. And so this is sodium potassium alloy in a vacuum with a very small amount of water, and that very small amount of water gives you metallic water on the surface. And watch here, you see that little speck there, right? This is something I've got to come back to. This is probably a Coulombic explosion. You see it there? So you see them periodically. It's just about here, and it goes boom. And this is filmed with a high-speed camera, bear in mind. That's filmed at like 1,000 frames per second. But these bright colours that you see on what is a metallic water surface, this is metallic water. And not only do we measure the spectrum of it, but we also measure the photoelectron spectrum of it, which, yeah, so this is measuring the spectrum of the gold, and you see the, it's a wonderful little thing. But the thing that's remarkable here is the actual kit that we used to do that was almost entirely made with stuff that, right, it turns out that with a bit of cash and eBay, you can buy some really good scientific kit. And so over the years, I've actually built up a fairly decent lab. And so this was the kit that we used to do the metallic water and the diffusion pump. All of there is virtually nothing here that was actually bought. But the Institute bought the sodium and the potassium. That was nice of them. But all of this was actually, including the sort of, the microscopes, everything was made with stuff that I'd bought off with donations from YouTube. Actually, with the exception, the spectrometer here was actually a fancy Institute spectrometer, but that's only because I had one that would have done it, but it's a long story. We'd swap spectrometers anyway. So yeah, right. These vacuum meters, these are fairly fancy things. That's 10 to the minus 5 millibar. So ballpark figures. What you're breathing at the moment is 1 atmosphere of pressure. 1,000th of an atmosphere is pretty close to space. That was what they were going to run the Hyperloop at. And you go down. Mount Everest is roughly a third of a quarter of a bar or something, 250 millibar. Here, we're not at a millibar. We're about 1/1,000,000th of a millibar. So, yeah, all your donations at work, and yeah, so we got that into Science, which was awesome. And then there was other stuff like, why does heavy water taste sweet? And yeah. So somewhere here, I had to distill stuff for that as well. Well, there'll be some video of me making the kit there. Oh, and showing all the vibrations. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Yeah, that was tasting quantum effects of water, and yeah, solvated electrons. These were solvated electrons in ammonia, not in water, they don't live very long. They tend to explode.
In the molecular dynamics simulation.
Oh. So we had some simulations, and yeah. So that's sodium potassium alloy, and when it dissolves in ammonia, that blue color there is actually solvated electrons. This is water and liquid ammonia, and if you pass electricity through it, this is really cool. The electrons just fall off one of the electrodes and stay stable in solution. I want to do some more video on that sometime, actually. I mean, it's beautiful stuff, and at high concentrations, you get these gold solutions, which are fantastic conductors of electricity. And so they turn out to actually conduct electricity better than copper. Yeah, okay, there we go. So this is the gold solution, and it's a liquid ammonia temperature. So this is like minus 30 degrees, that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess we should get to the unboxing, seeing as we have it here. So it's been a long time in the coming, and we'll do it surgically with a scalpel, and this is probably too surgical actually. I ought to do it like Christmas presents when you're a kid. Actually, no, this is easy. What's this? Don't open with a sharp object. Read the instructions first. And I think that's almost it. Not quite. A little overwrapped. Incidentally, I never actually got the silver button at all. I just never bothered even looking for it. And then when I was getting the gold one, I thought, well, whatever. I'll see if I can get the silver one at the same time. They said that it had already been claimed, and it's like, no, it hadn't. But yeah, and here we go. It's yeah, there we go. There we go. Let's not drop it. It might be a while before we get another one. And we get a nice little letter. Oh, it's on nice paper as well. And 1 million subscribers. Hey, nice and shiny. Very nice and shiny. Yeah. So, yeah, there he is. My intention actually was to, in fact it still is, of stuff that I've got planned, is to make a play button out of uranium, because reasons. You know, I've got some uranium. Making metallic uranium is actually quite challenging. So, yeah. And where are we going to go after this? Oh, he's quite nice and heavy and made good metal. Oh, yeah. Thumbs up of approval. I'm pretty sure it's not real gold. Nowhere near dense enough. But yeah. Which way are we going? That way. There we go. Right. So let's put him down for a second. And yeah. Where are we going to go next? So, you'll recall that I said that the sodium might do interesting stuff. Well, it turns out when sodium explodes in water, you get this weird smoke that has some strange properties, which might actually help creating aerosols. You know, to reverse global warming, you've got two choices. The first one is you either take the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Tricky proposition, seeing as it took all of mankind about 100 years to put it there in the first place. Or the second one is you've got to increase the reflectivity of the planet by about 1 part in 1,000. And so where are we at? Here we go. Yeah, this is what's next. That is actually a paintbrush, right? Used for painting things. So you get paint that you put in the top there, and you spray air through here, and it creates a nice fine spray of air, which you can use to paint things. I've kind of modified it to, in this case, just burn essentially gas, So I filled it up with gas. You get the mixtures about right, and you turn your little airbrush into a mini flamethrower. And so now I've got to do some modifications to this to, first of all, make it burn either metallic sodium potassium alloys, what I'll start with, and maybe move up to hybrid fuels or mixtures of ammonia. That gold solution. The gold solution from earlier is one of the things I want to try burning in here, because I know that stuff will spontaneously catch fire if you spray it into air. So that might be interesting. So I'm going to say thank you one more time to everyone. Thank you to all the subscribers for actually, making this possible. Much appreciated. Really is. Thank you so much for all of your support over the years. And I think at that, I'm going to go through and read the super chats. So, yeah, if you want to hang around for that, that'd be awesome. I have to work out how to read these things first. I'm streaming is still something I'm kind of a fish out of water on. So let's see what we've got. See all. And oh my word. Hang on. None of these are recent. Here we go. Here we go. Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from other stuff that I didn't cover. The how YouTube has the algorithm. Sometimes it likes you for no apparent reason, and other times it threatens to ban you because you're debunking coronavirus conspiracy nuts. Yeah. Okay. So let's see if I can actually get these onto the main screen. And yeah, this looks good. So where are we at? 1 million subscribers. I've been following on Patreon for a while. Also got motivated, and we're losing weight. Actually, that was one of my favorite videos, was the weight loss thing, where you actually sit on scales, and over the period of an hour, you can actually measure your weight loss just from breathing. And it turns out that most of the weight loss goes through the mouth. You breathe stuff out. And it's also kind of true, even if you're just doing exercising, all you're doing is breathing more, which carries away the excess weight. Thunderfoot's the man, bringing truth to a world of bullshit. Yeah. Congrats on, I'll actually get you names. That was SNM. Meeklum, congrats on 1 million. It's for $20. Thank you for the great content and scientific persistence over the years. Cheers. Many thank you, Meeklum. The Ochita, the eye, for 1,000 DKKs. Congrats on 1 million. Found you during my early atheist days, 14 plus. Stuck around for the scientific content. Also, shout out to EEV Blogs. Yes, definitely a shout out to EEV Blogs. Who, yeah, solid guy, knows his stuff. Yeah, doesn't fall. He calls out the bullshit when it's bullshit, which is, yeah, EEV Blogs from Down Under. Should mind to make a busting video of them sometime. Curiously enough, it's actually, he doesn't know it yet, but it is actually on the cards because someone actually sent me one of the food scanner things, which I've still not got around to fully using. But after I'd done some tests with it, I was going to send it to him to strip, because he strips these things down in teardown videos every now and again. So it's like, yeah, sure, why not? And also, I might be getting one of the Morris things, which I'm absolutely convinced these were the vacuum dryers. And my reckoning is it's a hair dryer in a big tub. It's your first 10 boring companies rides are on me, and that's from I'm old and balding. Feel your pain, brother. For $10. Tony Nussbaum. Hi Phil, long time fan here. Like the science related channels. I actually enjoy watching non-science related stuff. Any YouTube guilty pleasures? Yes. I actually watch StarCraft videos. Which is so weird. I've never played the game in my life, but still kind of enjoy watching them, as light entertainment. Anyway, Dolphin Jelly for $2. Vibing with your style today. It's Saturday night, and I need more disco lights. Hunter's Farmer for $5. Just thanks for the content. Watching you bust Elon Musk is mildly pornographic. Oh, and Faber of Will and Might for $100. I wonder what your opinion on Camille Paglia. She talks about religion and feminism. Great source of discussion. Congrats on the 1 mil. Being an anchor helps me keep my mind grounded in an uncertain world. Glad to help. Jason, Jason Kozleski, going for that anyway, for $6. Got in late. Have you resolved the SpaceX fair use footage? That was so weird, right? So almost everyone with the fair use stuff, they go through the YouTube tools. YouTube has these DMCA tools. The only people who basically circumnavigate those are people who... it's got a very copyright troll feel to it. And... yeah, so, initially they wrote me sort of saying, give me $750, otherwise I sue you. And I said no, and they said, all right, 1,000 don't say anything, and we'll let it go. And I said no, and I heard nothing from them again since. So the thing was, the way that they were presenting everything was very copyright troll-like. But, if you actually take a look at the guy, he was actually a fairly decent... photographer in his own right. I mean, he had some skill, which, it's... I'm still not quite sure what to make of that. I mean, the whole thing just stank of copyright troll. Instantly, my words of advice, maybe for that, is something I didn't fully appreciate is photographs are a copyright trolls. Yeah, these are people who basically abuse the copyright law because... just take these things to court is months of your life and tens of thousands of dollars. So people will pay, $1,000 just to make it go away. And pictures, because whenever you use a picture, you use the thing in its entirety, they have much... it's all kind of dated in the digital age, but, you get huge amounts of copyright protection for still images. However, thumbnails are covered under fair use, which is why, you might have noticed more recently, if I'm showing pictures, I just show the thumbnail searches. So, yeah, it gives you a little more protection on these things. Sorry about the nose. Panately for $10. Been around on various channels since the Venom Fang X days. Cool, that's going back. Still watch. I am the potato of prosperity. Yeah, it's an interesting turn of phrase. So, yeah, this is something that's bugged me over the years. People who say you're obsessed with something, that it is just the most vapid, empty non-argument ever. So back in the day, I was obsessed with creationists, then Islam, then Elon Musk. No, before Elon Musk, it was solar roads, water mayor devices, and insert item of the day that you think is getting unfair criticism, but it's not an argument anyway. Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you for the $10. Jamie Todd also for $10. Have coffee. A euphemism. Yes, this is the elevator euphemism. Is a euphemism because people don't want to look forward to let both parties. Yeah, it's a feeler. It gives people a option to back out if they don't want it. Yeah. Do you need a euphemism of the euphemism? Yeah. Okay. Many thanks, Jamie. And oh god, anal something or other. For €25. Congrats from France, even though don't always agree with you. Never donated before. Like the busting videos. They're precious gems and deserve at least €25 from me. Thank you, Enal Canali, maybe? For God 420 for $2. Hello, long time no see. Ingle Bingy for $2. I'd love to see a Brexit follow-up. Yeah, Brexit is one of those things. That was another one of those. I had a big punch-up and got a lot of flack at the time for basically saying Brexit was going to be a calamitous waste of time. And yeah, it's not going well. And it's screwed over. I know people personally, well, including myself, who this has been a pain in the ass for. So I know people who wanted to come here and study, and basically they can't because now they need a visa to do it, and no one's going to do that for some crappy student. You know, it's why would you fill out the extra paperwork? It's just and those little barriers basically limit your options now. If you're in the UK or you want to go to the UK, there are barriers to trade, blah blah blah. And another example, my brother recently sent me some Marmite. Yeah, I'm one of the guys who likes Marmite. For those who don't know what Marmite is, it was some guy found a way of turning the waste yeast from the brewing industry into something that looks like liquefied death, or something you might use to put tiles up and sell it for, and you put it on toast and such like, and people either love it or hate it. And yeah, so he sent me some Marmite, and the stuff was super strong Marmite. It only cost like £5 or something, but to pay the processing to get it into the country was another €5. So it's bloody pointless. You know, what was gained by any of this? Dear Thunderfoot, what's your stance on hydrogen? Hydrogen's scares the hell out of me. It's got a huge combustion rate. It explodes over some astronomical range of mixtures. But bizarrely enough, I've seen some footage of, you know, when they were first doing the investigations of using it as a rocket fuel, and these guys just carrying it around in big dewars, and you know, they're pouring it into ditches just to see what the general effects of handling are. And with that, it just burns in big sheets of flames, and it doesn't explode very, very much. And apparently there are similar things with using it as fuel in cars. But high pressure gases scare the hell out of me, and hydrogen scares the hell out of me. And the idea of having the big cylinders that we use are typically 200 atmospheres, and you knock the regulator off those, and there's enough energy in them to basically send them supersonic. They're bloody lethal, and I really don't like the idea of one of those in the car. I mean, conceivably, you know, the cylinder technology has come on with composites and such like, but I don't like hydrogen. Meh. For 50 Norwegian crowns, I think that is. Amazing. Congrats on the milestone, man. Been following you since the Atheism Plus. Oh, my word. That takes me back. Atheism Plus debacle. Archie, what's it for £5? Thunder Flipfoot. You helped me unhinge from Musk Boy. Thank you for carrying on being a nutty professor. We love you. Richardo G for $10. Congrats, Thunderfoot, with pizza and stars, it looks like. We've known you go through hell fighting pseudoscience nonsense. Greatly appreciate your work. Much appreciated. Grana Saber for $5. Joke, you're a fake scientist. You cannot play the bongos. Yep. This is another thing that always gets me, is people who think that you're a scientist is something that you can turn into a pejorative somehow, when it's, look, scientists can be wrong just like everyone else. But, you know, the mere fact that you're a scientist and therefore you must have a narrow field of knowledge, therefore you don't know anything about anything else. First of all, why not just actually say what you think is wrong with the argument? Things like that always bug me. Anyway, Grana, and with the fake bongos, much appreciated. Josh for $5 New Zealand dollars. My God, what time is it in New Zealand? It's got to be early. Yeah, like. Grats on 1 million subs, mate. Philip B for 100. I think those are Swiss francs. 100 Swiss francs. Congrats on 1 million subscribers. Well deserved. Keep up the good work. Much appreciated. Richard Harris, great content. Thanks for the scientific truth. Glad to help. Brad W for 20 Canadian dollars. Keep up the good work. Actually, I kind of just seeing it from all the different countries. It's nice. Universe Creator for 50 Norwegian crowns, I think. What do you think about Professor Dave in YouTube? Have you seen his recent hilarious one-sided discussion with flat earthers? Yeah, I have seen his flat earth. He had one of these videos that went like mega viral, discussing things with flat earthers, and yeah. The thing is, you think that they're fake until you actually watch some of their videos, and then you realize that actually some of these people aren't faking it. They actually believe this stuff. JD for $50. Congratulations on 1 mil. Long overdue. I've been subscribed for well over 13 years. That's old school. Thanks for everything. Keep busting pseudoscience and keeping it real. Chink of the glasses. And for another one for 420. Can I have your thoughts on non-fungible tokens? From Ken Bosak, and it's I just don't understand. It's sort of true that anything can have money, and to a degree, this is why the Boring Company is worth $6 billion, is because people think that it's worth that, or that it might be worth that. Non-fungible tokens are kind of the same for me anyway. Christian Woodbury for $200. Thank you, Christian, who says simply, congrats. Frodo Baggins, freshly back from the Shire for Dutch, 100 Dutch crowns, I think. Cheers. Greetings from Denmark. Yeah. Colton Snyder for $5. You're the reason I became an atheist, became a skeptic, and pursued a degree in political science. Good on you. Thanks for all the content over the years. So that was going back. Those were the things that really encouraged me back in the early days. This was one of the nice things about going to the atheist conferences before they were all completely destroyed, is when people would tell you that they really got comfort out of your videos. It made them feel they'd be in these religious communities, and it was just nice to actually have someone who thought like they did. R&R. Good bit of R&R for $10. Love your videos on debunking the UFOs. Yeah, some of those were fun. That guy who's sort of gone on the UFO rabbit hole is deep, just like the a lot deeper. There was another round of that recently. There was some other report that came out, and where people they were claiming people had sex with aliens in these reports, but it was an official government report, and it's like, yeah, the US government also did reports on telepathy and all sorts of other weird crap. Simon Lofel for 200 Swedish crowns, I think. Congratulations, man. Seeing through the bullshit. I hope I can see through the bullshit half as good as you. Me too. Unbreaded makes 3 donations of $2. Have you debunked the Hubble Space Telescope? Not quite yet. It's on the to-do list. Have you debunked the moon landing? No. Actually, so this is one of the things I did really enjoy making the Apollo 13 things, even though they got a tiny, they got relatively little traffic. I really enjoyed going into all the details of the Apollo missions. And why haven't I been debunked 9/11 yet? Actually, that really is on the list. I actually got some steel beams, and some blowtorches to show that you can have things collapse without actually. I mean, it's bloody stupid if you think about it. Of course, you don't have to melt the steel beams to make something collapse. Emmy Glockner for a 10 euros. Nice. I can congratulate in person. It's nice. Means I can congratulate in person almost. And I think this is in German. Yeah. Hersi Chen Gluschen zu 1 million Abon and 10. It's just terrible. Horrific. Any German people out there will be laughing their asses off at that. Mick99D said for £20, well done, Phil, on 1.01 million. Always enjoy your videos. Yuho Luckinson for 10 euros. Wait till Elon invents the hypertube that will change everything. Congrats on 1 million. I really ought to. It will come into a video at one of these points. This video 10 years before Elon Musk. They have all the computer simulations of how in Switzerland they're going to tunnel through the mountains and have things going through them at the speed of sound, and they're going to have multi-levels and these weird changes. It's a far more advanced thing than Elon Musk ever had 10 years before he even mentioned it. Anyway. Yohel Bittner for, I don't even know what the hell that is, ILS 35. Love the programs. Keep showing the big lie of Elon Musk, and to believe I used to love the guy. I mean, the bizarre thing is, you scroll the clock back to early Elon Musk. I kind of liked him as well. When his goal was basically all he wanted to do was send a plant to Mars and get a selfie looking back at Earth. And then he got so far into selling the vaporware that no. And now he is just the serial vaporware king that with all of his companies. Remember what I was saying, that they have so much capital tied up with them that they never have to make a functioning business ever out of almost any of these businesses, just because of the sheer amount of capital they have. Anyway, get yourself a coffee from Graxion, and what the hell is that? Say, see that? Pop? Oh, it's a dancing thing. from Shulman. Thank you for that. And a box opening from Blue Thing for $2 Canadian. Seth says, hello, Thunderfoot for $2. Garm says, congrats, man. Party face for 20 Swedish crowns. Robert Yoblin for $10 says, congrats on being a millionaire. Yes, finally made it. Dennis Hudson for 5 says, congrats. Congrats, man, you deserve it. JR Chadwick, there's a friend from the Venom Fang X days, for $2 says, rip irony meter. Not quite sure which irony meter that was, but hey, thanks, JR. We should... Next time I'm in... I've forgotten what state you're in now. He's moved around a lot. Anyway, okay, where are we at? Thank you, Teddy Bear says sorrow for $10. Bronze Division for 20 says, have you heard renewable energy is a bottomless well of stupidity? With the hippie energy plants. And he's got the cold solar panels things, the solar panels that generate energy at night. And EEV Blogs has already beat me to this. I mean, this one's been kicking around for a long time. And it's of course, some guy from MIT, blah, blah, blah. It means nothing if the idea is stupid. Stephen Cox says, coming soon for $2. McThrow, Seth. It's a little dancing icon of a bird type. For €20, thank you. Neil Zimmerman for $10. Love the content and personality. Keep up the good work. Glad you like it, Neil. Justin Benjamin for $10 is Party Face. Game Over is from Stephen Cox for 2. And then immediately after, 4, 5, Stephen Cox again, Thunderfoot Rules. Tex J Thresher for $5 says, I'm sad people like this exist. Keep up the great work. Sam Carlson for 2 says they think gravity is density. Yeah. Ken Murphy for 10 says, glad I tuned in this night. Thanks for all the solid scientific explanations. Glad to dish them out. Hazel Naught for $6.66 says, hello from Albuquerque. Actually, when I was a kid, we lived in Socorro, which is a absolute nowhere place about 70 miles south of Albuquerque. And that Christmas when I was 10 years old, I got this video game. This was the apex of video games at the time. And yeah, so that's my memories from Albuquerque. The gigs Boston for $20 Australian. Australian, nice. 10 years of watching these videos. Watching stuff helps me do my homework. Glad to hear it. Priestley for $10 says, honestly been enjoying the content. Thanks for the high quality videos, making us smarter every day. Mike Lazzolini for $5 says, please never stop these amazing videos. Not got plans to stop anytime soon. Sometimes food snob. Almost missed it. Hey from New Zealand with kisses. Hello back to New Zealand. I, one of these days, have to get down to both. I've never been to Australia, never been to New Zealand. Always wanted to go. John for $10 says, thanks for the videos. Jeff Waldo says, flat earthers are a real gas for $25. And yeah, they are. It's always so difficult to tell, though. You have to watch so much of their stuff before you can tell whether they're just faking it or no, they really are that stupid. KGS Elixo for $2 says heart emoji. Arcadulus says one-way ticket, fun to send flat earthers away for $2. Yeah, I see. JR, again, JR Chadwick for $5. Thunderfoot, the stores, I need 40 bouncy balls for science. That's definitely a reference to debunking the flat earthers. D-Style Boxing for $2 says nothing. JR, again for $5, says these flat earthers always have such weird insults. Accusing you. Have they accused me of being a Jew yet? Oddly enough, no. But I was always. I never understood why there are virtually no Jews in the world. When you look at it, it's like, billion Christians, billion Muslims, and then Jews. It's like a few tens of millions. I never understood why people were so paranoid about them. But anyway, whatever. Chaos Stevenson for $2 says, since you're here, for what you do. A God, 420. Yeah, a lot of stoners today. Contact me on Discord. After this, I have... okay. It's God 420. Social Commentary 101 is Dancey Emoji. And Mick99D for £20 just came up. Will you... we'll have to watch from the beginning. I'm sorry, I'm dying here. My nose is so blocked up. Someone's got a good sense of humor. No, we missed Steve. Steve Johnson for $20. Thunderfoot, think you can keep your political views out of your science videos? I largely try to do it, actually. This, especially seeing as America has become so polarized. But, when you come to things like anti-vaxxers and all that sort of thing, it's... Anyway, your opinions are doo-doo. Your presentations of facts, fantastic. Thanks, much love. I've got 20 more characters to burn. So here's a 5G cell tower. And I'm not quite so sure that's a cell tower. I've seen doodles like that before. Anyway, right. Josh Hansen for $2. We voted Thunderfoot to be an honorary pheasant. With clapping. Is that a hungry hippo? From Esteban for 20 ARS. 20 ARS dollars. Not sure what they are. Patrick Benita just says $20. Thank you. John Andrews for $10. Howdy from Australia. Bud, awesome breakdown. Funny as fuck as well. Rene, with lots of German things. I need bigger fonts for €20, says wrecked. There we go, wrecked emoji. Max for €12. Keep debunking and educating. Here's some lost ad revenue back. Thank you. Adam Tapp for $10. Oh no, be careful with the 5G. That causes COVID or swine flu or turns you guys straight. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, I mean, I still can't believe that I came fairly close to getting my channel banned for debunking coronavirus because YouTube's algorithm identified me as a conspiracy nut. Ugh. Mississippi Wildlife says, great job, smiley face. Bill Bamatio for $5. Bust him up, Thunderfoot. Will do. Paul Cider for $5. Spaghetti, bless you. I think we're into flying spaghetti monster stuff here. Actually, yeah, flying spaghetti monster. I definitely need to do the Great Space Vegetable. Thunderfoot for all your work, thank you. Gunnar for 40 Norwegian says, get yourself some coffee. Roggle for $5. I'm so glad you make these videos. Glad you like them. Jay Johns is dancing something. And we get a cute smiling puppy from Ollie Polly. Justice 5150 from Salt Lake City. It's a beautiful place, is Salt Lake City. Mormon Central, unfortunately, but other than that, beautiful place. Question: have you ever heard of the band Bad Religion? Nope, but I'll look them up. Halvor Flastrud for £45. Love your videos. As an engineer, I'm a bit torn with your analysis of Elon. So I have many a healthy discussion about, how much of, because there are things, he does act, the nearest thing he is to a functional business is making the Tesla cars, which, they're producing, 1 million of them a year or something. This isn't vaporware, but it's not exactly revolutionary either. They make, is it something like 1% of the cars in America, but Tesla is valued as being more valuable than all the other car manufacturers put together. Anyway, sorry, sorry, Halvor, I was only halfway through. To me, he seems like a good engineer, but a terrible scientist. I have him mostly pegged as a salesman. If you actually, the nearest thing he's almost ever had to a functioning business, where there is money, stuff coming in, they make stuff and they sell products, is Tesla. SpaceX, I got to be fair, SpaceX makes respectable launch vehicles in the Falcon 9, but virtually everything else that they've got is all that stuff about going to Mars. This is pure vaporware. Nicolali, for 100 Norwegian crowns, started watching your videos in middle school. Whew. Actually, but this is the thing. People who started watching my videos in middle school could be 30 now. They could have children who are in middle school now. Horrible getting old. And now he's doing a bachelor degree in physics. Awesome. Cole Daniels for £10 says, "Grats, thank you for the years of learning and laughter." Oyster Baron for £5. Science, maths, and Thunderfoot. Snake oil salesman's nightmare. Well done, Thunderfoot. Awesome. Brother Van for $5. Elon Musk has announced that he's going to use the Hyperloop technology to make advanced drinking straws. It's about as plausible as some of the other. I mean, Musk is still pushing the Tesla bot. That just drives me crazy. And the Boring Company having a valuation in the billions of dollars. Very depressing. Anyway, Snoop-Doo for 400 Indian rubles. Congrats, love the work for 8 years. By the way, what do you think about Musk trying to buy Twitter? I'm not entirely sure he has the money to do it. In that... So I'm dying from lack of oxygen here. One of my nose is mostly blocked. In that, to buy Twitter, Elon Musk needs, $40-50 billion, that sort of thing. And you might think, well, he's on paper got 300 million-ish. But virtually all of that is Tesla shares. And about half of those he's borrowed money against. So you can't really leverage any of that $300 billion. The only way you can sensibly do anything with it is by selling Tesla shares, which he probably doesn't want to do for a whole bunch of reasons. If he seemed to have gamed the market, I mean, even as it stands, if you've not followed the Common Sense Skeptics review of the Musk trial and the Solar City buyout, it's possible Musk's just going to end up with a bill of over $10 billion for that. And it's Musk was meant to recuse himself. I'll see if I can do a quick recap. There is Solar City, who are going bankrupt, and Musk has taken a load of money off the government and bought Solar City stock with it to prop it up, and it's still going bankrupt. And so the only way if it goes bankrupt, it takes SpaceX and Tesla with it. So he absolutely has to keep it alive. So yeah, they do this whole spiel with the solar roofs, and the whole thing is complete 100% vaporware. None of it works. It's an aspirational product, but it's basically just to try and convince the Tesla stockholders to vote for Tesla to buy Solar City, which they do. But of course, Musk is meant to completely recuse himself of this. He doesn't do any of that, and his dirty little mitts are over absolutely everything. Without this, it's entirely possible that all of the Musk businesses would be kaput now. That's the sort of all of these things are actually fairly fragile. Tesla is by far the most viable of these as a business, in that I think their turnover per year is like 50 billion or something. But that's, in terms of profit, they're basically break even. So that'll still be worth that sort of amount, even if Musk goes bust as some sort of industry. Anyway, so I'm not entirely sure Musk could buy Twitter even if he wanted to. Right, what else we got? Edmonds for €5 says, thanks for the videos. Glad to help them, to produce them. Batner for love the drama of the Elon Musk fans. Now take my shekels. So that's what they are. They're 30 shekels. 30 shekels. I've got 30 shekels. And a nose that just will not let me breathe. Oh, sorry. Apologies. I should have muted the mic for that. Roman H. Robot for, I think those are Polish zloty. I'm awaiting someone's idea on a source, not dehumidifiers, to be installed in the Sahara to create an oasis. Laughy, winky, smiley face. Thanks for the channel content. Ray Cosby for 5 says, congrats on raising my skepticism, which is what I like to hear. I like to raise the skepticism. Nagma for 200 Czech crowns. Those I instantly recognize. Congrats, love the stuff. When will the Elon Musk bubble burst? What would it take? It's nowhere near as robust as you might think. But there is. It's almost too big to fail. When you take a look at the size of it, Tesla is valued at, people have put $1 trillion into Tesla stock. If people suddenly decide this is a non-fungible token that's not worth, it's worth 1% of what it's currently worth, we're talking country destabilizing losses of money. So it might even be too big to fail. But anyway, Ninja for £9 does jumping splits. That's super. Julian Dell for €5. I wish you be a science teacher. In France, we need more scientific education. I think we need it everywhere. The amounts of climate change denial and stuff that we've got, anti-vaxxers. These are understandable from we spent hundreds of years gaining this scientific knowledge for people to simply ignore it exists and believe in their flat earths and the such like. Michael Cronin for $5 says, congrats, love the content. Jen Skidmore for $10 says, can one detect alpha or neutron radiation at home? And yes, So neutrons, you've got various ways you can detect neutrons. If you want to do it properly, you usually absorb them into something and then measure the secondary energy. So you get something like helium-3, which costs an absolute fortune. Alternatively, neutrons are very volatile particles. They've got a half-life of like 10 minutes. They're screamingly radioactive. So you just detect the ionization from the beta particle that comes off them. So yeah, you can detect it just as radiation. To detect them as actually neutrons is significantly harder. Alfred Nuno for 48 Swiss francs, I think. Congratulations, great content. Would be great to see more. Why do they people laugh at series? Which is curious because just before this, I was looking at doing another Why Do People Laugh at Creationists because of there's been a resurgence of the Discovery Institute. Their intelligent design things, which is exactly where I started this video. You start off with a universe that is basically completely devoid of matter and energy and almost entirely black, and they call this designed for life. This is almost a not designed for life universe that only the smallest tiny fraction of the universe can have life. Anyway, Geotic for 50 Dutch crowns. Congrats from Denmark. Denmark frowns. Don't let the negative accusations get to you. Do you ever get tired of defending yourself all the time? Yeah. It's one of those things you can pretend that but a lot of these things, they're just so annoying. And this is why, if they banned me off Twitter for good, I would live a longer and happier life. And if I'm being honest, with Facebook, that one always I never really understood Facebook. And especially seeing as people get very anxious about the government knowing A, B, and C about them. And then they go on Facebook and they tell Facebook absolutely everything, their date of birth, who their friends are, what university they went to, their favorite color, their favorite ice cream. And they just give it all away to Facebook. I liked the good old days when the internet was mostly anonymous. Yeah, I liked it back then. When it just removed one of the obvious things that you couldn't easily attack people if you didn't know who they were. It's also one of those things I didn't ever want was, creationists using, this guy is a doctor, blah, blah, blah. And therefore, if they're the person who's responding to me, this means that my argument is credible. Yeah. I liked it when it was all anonymous. Anyway, Rob Mullally for 20 Australian. Congrats on the million. Thanks for being in the front lines of sanity and reason. This is Aussie dollars. We exist. Yeah, I'd love to see the Southern Star sometime. I think we've sent more, but I have to invest in some solar roadways and medical testing devices and juice presses. Yeah. Trout for $10. You've exposed too much bullshit. Made the world a better place. I really think that. Yeah, it's nice. Drake sends $7. As does Vale. Undersurf for $50 US. Love your work. Keep it up. Thank you, Undersurf. Lockbert for $5. Let's grab a pint when you're next in London. The Boring Revolution guy. Seriously? It says Lockbert there. Well, whatever. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Very, very interesting. But, you get flat earthers. So is it that unsurprising that you can get someone who sees something that is obviously slow-moving cars in tunnels and think, wow, that's amazingly revolutionary. Josh Brown for $5. Thanks for all the fantastic and informative videos on radiation. Sparked huge interest in radiation. Thank you for that. I'm glad to have... Yeah, I'll do some more when I make my uranium play button. Richard Starber for $20. Keep the dancing mime robot. Always cracks me up every time. Me too. It's just like, how can people take him seriously when he's sat there next to a mime claiming this is what's going to revolutionize society? David DJ for $5 says, congrats Thunderfoot, keep on breaking up the cult of Musk. Been subscribed for 8 years now. Always excited to see you post. Thank you. Juicebox Stan 72. I assume that's 1972. A good year to be born. For $5. Appreciate ya. Smiley face. Looking forward to upcoming videos. CW for 20 Canadian says, been a fan since I found you back in the Venom Firing X. Apology and Scientology. Oh my god, I really had forgotten completely about Scientology. Yeah. God. This is a long time ago. Yeah, they were and still are pretty crazy, the Scientologists, guys. Anyway, thanks for showing my young dumb self that science and skepticism could be fun and cool. That's a good motto for the channel. Science and skepticism is fun and cool. Random Box of Weird, great name, for €5. Congrats, been watching since the Wider People Are for Creationist episode 1. You inspired a generation of scientific minds. Thanks from Austria. There's Divaka for €5. Greetings from Vienna / Austria. Been watching and loving the content. Got your back via Patreon. Thank you for that. And I hope you get the deserved 2 million. Me too. Although, I mean, YouTube is such... There are so many people making content on YouTube now. And I still... yeah, it's very different than what it used to be. David M. Viljoen for Zar. I've got no idea what they are, but there's 70 of them anyway. Huge fan. Watched all your videos and eagerly await the new videos. Thank you for reinforcing the scientific method and teaching the sheep to think. You are a master. I'm not so sure I go that far, but it's very nice. It's nice to hear someone say something. Most of the time, it's all you hear is people saying nasty things about you. But yeah, thank you for that. Lico Boy for $20 says, keep up the great work. I'm lost, please help, for 14 Canadian dollars. I played your Musk videos in school and in the gym during the assembly. A lot of people think he's a god. Nearly created a riot. They're not alone. There is so much sort of deification of Musk. And I was watching some clips of Joe Rogan sort of saying that, you know, I feel like I'm the chimp in the room when I'm talking to Elon Musk, and he's like, he's a good bullshit merchant, you know, but when it comes to delivering the goods, he's mostly the vaporware salesman. Anyway, James Buntock for £10. Thanks for the videos. Always cheers me up when I feel stupid, especially when busting Elon Musk fans. Yeah, cool. Jonas Berg for the nostalgia trip is 50 Norwegian crowns. Matas is for €5 is nothing. NGC Andropolis, $5 from Denmark. Interesting combo. Might not always agree, but love the videos. Always thought-provoking. Keep me on the right side of sanity. Yeah, which is another thing. It's important. If you agreed on everything, then there wouldn't really be much point making videos. But so it's always good to have some disagreement in there. Plus fee for €2 says something in German. Lieben Gruß aus Österreich, Mr. Donnerem? Maybe? I'm not quite sure what that one means, but I'm lost, please help for another 14 says, thank you. DIY Patrick for €20. Thank you for everything. Came across the debunking of the Creationist. Stuck around for debunking bullshit. Generational stuff. Hugo for $5 Canadian. Well deserved 1 million. You're the best science channel viewer since Venom Fang X. Old school. Blah blah for 32 Zars. Well deserved Thunderfoot. Sam for $5. Dr. Mason. No one ever calls me doctor. Thank you for, but it's occasionally nice when people do. No, it's not. Thank you for helping more people think for themselves. A few nobler pursuits. I agree. Pagril for 50 Czech crowns. Greetings from Prague. Greetings right back at you. Might be out there somewhere. Alexander Cooper for $5. Thank you for all the videos over the years. JCX for £5. Congrats, Thunderfoot. Being a supporter on Patreon. Many thanks for that. The Apollo 13 videos were amazing. I'm really glad you like the Apollo in real time. Yeah, Apollo in real time is just amazing. So they've done like 3 or 4 of them. And you can listen to the entire mission, which is like a week long. And it's got all it's got a load of the transcripts, all the different feeds on there, a lot of the spacecraft orientation, and listening to the Apollo 13 disaster in real time. I mean, it starts off as nothing, and also with a hugely misquoted quote, which is, Houston, we have a problem, and which is what they say in the movie, and no, it's not. It's Houston, we've had a problem. They think it's just a glitch, an anomaly. Houston, we've had a problem. Anyway, K Dizzy for 50 shekels. Hey, K Dizzy, even spell out the name. Thank you. Here since Venom Fang X. Thanks for the free content. Congrats on the 1 million. Have some shekels. Thank you, Puppy Kitty. For $10. Truth doesn't always pay the bills. People like conspiracies, magic beliefs, and drama. Sometimes the internet is like a cesspool of misinformation. That's the truth. People like you keep it real, never change. Thank you. But that is something that in the early days, there was this belief that disinformation would be purged on the internet because people could always debunk it, and it turns out actually no, it spreads quicker than people can debunk it. The Vinglasser for $2. Congrats, the videos inspire me. Melon for $10. Been a fan of the content. It's wonderful, keep it up. Bio Nerd, good name. $5. Love the content, but you're wrong about the UFO Pentagon stuff. I'm not so sure about that, but well, whatever. Well, Andrew Wu for 10 Canadian. Come to Canada, debunk Trudeau. I actually know nothing about Trudeau other than he's one of these younger, charismatic looking. That's almost all I know about him. Pardon me, I'm dying with this nose. I am so sorry. Glenn, for $20. What's your favorite thing? Enjoy about the human experience. A gift to the world. Actually, I'm already there. I really enjoy doing the science stuff, and if I can do the crossover where I can actually do some of this stuff and people support it online, that for me is fantastic. So, current projects, what do we got? I've got 3 ones like this cooking, slightly different rates. Research takes an awful long time. So there's the stuff with the charging, charging of water streams, which is related to lightning. I've got a lot that I want to do on that. That's probably going to result in science papers within the next year or so. There's the stuff about burning sodium to make fuel, and there's also one which I reckon Chernobyl blew up because of a metal water explosion. The main reason that it blew up, well, it wasn't a nuclear explosion. It was basically you generated enough heat to melt the zirconium. That's what zirconium looks like, just in case you were wondering. And, once you melt the zirconium, which you can do with a high enough energy flux, if that would then react with the water very much like sodium would and give you a fairly decent explosion that would blow apart the core. And that's what you hear from the accounts, is there are actually 2 explosions. And the second one was probably the chemical explosion. Well, that's my reckoning. But zirconium doesn't melt till almost 2,000 degrees. It's a very technically challenging experiment to do. I've still not worked out how to do it. So, those are the 3 projects that I've currently got cooking like that. Ola for 100 Swedish crowns. Happy for the 1 million. Couldn't Musk borrow the money? Money printer go with his Tesla stock. Well, I mean, this is the thing. He's already borrowed as much money almost as he can against his Tesla stock. So, no. Even Musk has constraints. He owns, 20% of Tesla, something like that. And the other people aren't particularly happy about things like gambling the company type maneuvers. So there's all sorts of things that'll put the brakes on there. Ricardo G for $10. I remember when I began watching videos. I remember laughing at the Creationists when it was in single digits. And that's the thing. For the longest time, I didn't even know there was such a thing as subscribers on YouTube. I just made the videos, and there were thousands there before I realized, there is such a thing as subscriptions on YouTube. And we got Morrison for 5,000 Czech crowns. That's like $200, $250. Congrats on the 1 million subs, mate. How have you not lost your mind debunking so many ludicrous projects? That is actually one of the ones that does get you down. Is some of the crazy stuff people believe and spend like huge amounts of money on. Like Goop has been on the radar forever, where people rub tea leaves on them and they pay $1,000 for reused tea leaf therapy, and they think this makes them much healthier somehow or something. It's crazy. Anyway, we got a physics teacher like you back in school. We'd have learned way more. If we'd had a physics teacher like you back in school, we'd learn way more. Thank you. Cheers, mate. And cheers to you too, Morrison. Gregory Smith for $20. Thank you for the service to humanity. I like Elon Musk too. I love your videos about the Boring Company and Hyperloop. It's complicated. Life's like that. Zero. That's in his Zero for $2. Will you be addressing Building 7 in your 9/11 debunk? Yeah, probably. Maybe I ought to make a full-sized replica and see exactly how much you have to soften the steel beams. Anyway, Scott Cassidy for $10. Thank you for the many hours of incredible content. Been subbed since the Venom Fang X days. Oh, yeah. Worked to help me sort out fact from fiction when I was young, and having religious dogma pushed on me by my friends. Yeah, that's the sort of exact... I would get feedback like that at the atheist conferences before they all kind of went south. And that gives you such a morale boost hearing that sort of thing. Echo the Husky for £10. Another long-time viewer, always been impressed way back with what you say with data or demonstration. Edward Hardy for £5. Set up a shuttle bus company to rival Musk's tunnels. Lol, congrats on the 1 million subs and enjoy the busting videos. I have not been on vacation, well, basically since the beginning of COVID. Like pretty much everyone else, I think. But I want to get to America, and I want to ride on the loop, and I want to see how Solar Roadways is doing. Because they've still got their little fixture that doesn't generate any electricity. And what's the other one? Hyperloop. Yeah, I want to go out to the desert and see if there is anything happening at their site in the desert. Because if you think about it, they made their tube, they ran some stuff up and down it. There's nothing more to do now, really. They've learned basically all they can from that. Sorry, can't breathe. Juho for 50 euros. Thank you. Congratulations on teaching me so much. Thank you. Much appreciated. Stickle Pickle 4000 for 5 Canadian says, tell us how you came up with your name. Love the channel and the work. The name goes back to the Unreal Tournament days when I used to play in a clan called MOD. And I've actually met people since then who were sort of right. We were like the second best clan in the game. And yeah, I didn't actually go by Thunderfoot back then, but it was the name that I went after I left that was Thunderfoot, because I always used to play Capture the Flag. And whilst I wasn't the best shot or stuff like that, still pretty good on the grand scheme of things, I was so devious and sneaky running the flag, and it's a good name for a flag runner is Thunderfoot, so that's where Thunderfoot comes from. And yeah, it's depressing now when I play first-person shooters, because I am so bad compared to what I was like. It's I'm still a mediocre player, but just not. It's sad seeing how much I've lost. God, I sound wailing wolf stuff here. Anyway, what we got? Jason for $3 Canadian. Colo Psych, like the war on Musk's next scam. Paul D for £5. Thank you for calling out the bullshit. Good dash of humor. Actually, that's one of the things that I do enjoy, is sort of sewing the humor into the videos. And yeah, there's always this bit on the timeline when you're making the videos, and it's like, yeah, actually that's pretty good. Those are bright little moments. Those keep you cool constantly. Grab yourself a Corona on me. Close enough. Thank you. Chaos is a ladder. Okay, it's a good Game of Thrones reference when Game of Thrones was good. For $10, congrats on finally hitting 1 million subs. Thanks for the appearance on The Drunken Peasants. Yeah, that's actually a long time ago now as well. Sean Huntley for $2. I would love to see slow-mo of the airbrush. Yeah, that's on the. That was a sort of toss-up between what would be the next video. Is so to go to the burning sodium as a fuel thing, there's all sorts of stages that you've got to go through. Nebulizing liquids and all that sort of thing. You need to be able to do it. So yeah, the actual slow motion footage is on the to-do list. Common Sense Skeptic, hello man. A great coverage of the Musk trial. I mean, you did an absolutely fantastic job going through all the details on that. Strongly recommended you go check out Common Sense Skeptic's coverage of that. Congrats on 1 million play button. Thanks so much for the support the last 2 years. Always looking forward to the next video. Likewise. K. Aaron Bogan for 200 crowns says nothing. BAA for 50 crowns. Tell me what kind is. Smiley face. You are kind. Thank you. I hate it. Of all the time, 2 years, I successfully dodged COVID, and then I get these horrendous colds at the end. It's K for $5 says, "Congrats on 1 million subs, well earned and deserved. I'm curious, Star Wars or Star Trek or Stargate?" Definitely Star Trek. Especially, I liked some of the Deep Space Nine ones were amazing. What's your favorite sci-fi universe? I can tell you my favorite character is probably Elim Garak, out of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That it had some of the most fantastic moments, did Garak. Nully's Workshop for 20 euros. Congratulations, Phil. Because you really teach me about facts and science and conclusions and stuff that sounds too good to be true. Yeah, glad to have helped. Workshop. Arminius for 10 euros. Please remember I donated. The one day inevitably comes... The day you inevitably become evil, but very educated supervillain. Until then, keep it up. So there has always been part of me. It's like, yeah, if you decided to be evil, you could be mind-blowingly rich, right? When you debunk all this stuff, you start to see the patterns. Deep down, I don't think I could do it. I am just not... I couldn't pimp that much bullshit. And it's even worse than that. People who go into science don't ever go into science because they think they're going to be rich. It's expected that you're not going to be rich if you go into science. And secondly, you don't do it to become famous. I mean, seriously, how many current... If someone asks you to name a famous actor or singer, blah, 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 loads of them. Name is a famous scientist. And you might get some science communicators, but, are any of those people actually sort of publishing scientists? Probably not. I mean, I don't know about Neil deGrasse Tyson, actually. Brian Cox, he used to be. I assume he still is. But it doesn't matter. You don't get a lot of famous scientists. Anyway, Ole Jacob for 100 Norwegian crowns says, "Congratulations on the 1 million. Thank you. Watching for 11 years. Oh, I start feeling old once it gets more than a decade. Marius for £10. A boring revolution is right. Laughy smiley face. Congrats on the 10 to the power of 6 subs. Exponents. Always good to see exponents. God 420, more cannabis reference. Any chance you will cover the right to repair? That's never really made it onto the radar, although, yeah, definitely I support right to repair. Gabor, Dixie for 4,000 huffs, which I don't know what they are. Thank you for the videos. Thank you. You are the best. And thank you, Gabor. Nicholas with a Napster icon. Oh my word, that predates even YouTube. For $10 says, quite enjoy the content, Phil. aren't many channels who are as entertaining and also exceptionally explanatory as yours. Thank you. A hearty congratulations. David Beckett for £5 says, congrats on passing 1 million. Have you watched Brass Eye? Not only have I watched, I loved Brass Eye. And Brass Eye so called out modern news before it was modern news. So it was basically a spoof news program. And they used to do things. In fact, I should cover it. They did an episode on science. And one of the bits that they had was they would go to celebrities and try and convince them they had a virtuous cause and that they wanted them to do a promo for this virtuous cause. And the virtuous causes would be things like heavy electricity, where there is the danger that if heavy electricity would fall out of this microphone now, it could cut me in half. And they actually get these celebrities to read out this complete, utter garbage with a straight face because, celebrities will do absolutely anything to get their face on television. And it was very good. And there was a lot of very good satire in Brass Eye. Strongly recommended. Did you ever meet James Randi? Yeah, I did actually meet. That was John Erickson for £10. I did meet James Randi, but he was, very frail when I actually met him. I was just some guy who came up and said, big fan, really like what you've done. Back in the day, James Randi did some absolute marvelous takedowns of, some of the bullshit merchants of the day, the spoon benders, Uri Geller. There are these people who said they could manipulate things with their minds. He did some fantastic stuff like that. Sorry. Oh, yeah, finally, stuff comes out. So this is the Red Dwarf moment. Why do you always have to open the handkerchief up to see what's inside? There's something human about that. Right, I think we're done for a bit. Anyway, where do we get up to? Dr. Stein for $10, 10 New Zealand dollars. Been subscribed to the busting videos, find them very entertaining, learned a lot. Keep up the work debunking the bullshit science, and congrats on 1 million. Thank you. And Melanie for €10 says congrats. Well, Phil, well deserved. Thank you. Edward Hardy for £2. Set up a shuttle bus company to rival Musk's tunnel. Actually, no, when I go there, and I will make it to Las Vegas eventually, I'm going to do all sorts of is it quicker to walk? And the answer for the loop extension, where it's just going across the car park, is it's almost certainly quicker to walk than to take the loop. Certainly much quicker to cycle. So yeah, I'll be doing stuff like that when I next get to Las Vegas. Sleepy Panda for 100 crowns says, well done on the 1 million. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great day too, Sleepy Panda. Ramflax for $10. Great to see you get 1 million. I was a teen 15 years ago. It helped me feel sane back when my family was religious. Yeah, I was very religious, and as questioning my validity, your content was really meant a lot to me. Really glad that it helps out, Ramplax. Pierre Westmark for 200 Swedish crowns. Great content. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alex Enoch for $2. These videos were available before this year. Not sure what that's about. Mick99D, good work as always. Thank you. Sorrow says thumbs up. And Tiger Z now for $2 sends me a nice unicorn, which is Klaus Clavier for $10. How is the fighter pilot managing to radar lock on an aircraft? How has a fighter pilot managed to radar lock on it and an aircraft's carrier sent jets after seeing large unidentified thing on radar to a point where the interceptors and it's a bird. There's a whole bunch of mixed up things there. The one where it's a bird, that's not a radar contact. No one ever sent anything to intercept that. Some of the others are probably just planes. And what are we at? Sends a $2 and Atheist for 10 zloty. Have you ever considered doing a collab with Cody Lab? Way back, there was actually, I tried to contact him when he was doing heavy water tasting. So again, you know, to do the actual research studies takes like 5 years or something. But he had actually done heavy water tasting on his YouTube channel before all of this. And what's more, he got all of the right results. Now, all right, it's data pointer 1, blah, blah, blah. And once you actually start doing lots of taste testing, you realize there's some variability in how people taste stuff. But I did actually try and reach out to him to get him involved on that. And sadly, I think it's one of those things that, you know, he's busy doing his stuff and he never got back to me. But yeah, no, I mean, Cody's Lab does some really nice stuff. Arjen Van Muller for €10, love the content. And how you don't yield to bullies. Yeah. Yeah, it's important to sometimes stick it to the man like that. Oscar for £10 says, I've been watching your videos for the past 5 years, love them. From when I was 14 and now suffering from some sort of virus as well, not COVID though, just like you. I feel your pain, Oshka. Jonas for 20 crowns. Radioactive, is California still a radioactive wasteland? That goes back to Fukushima, where people were claiming that California was a radioactive wasteland, and it's not. There's quite a lot of natural radioactivity in California anyway, and one of the places where it tends to accumulate is beaches. And so there were these people who went out on the beach and said, look at all this radioactivity, and it's like, yeah, that's just the thorium sand. It's been there forever. And I did actually, I don't remember whether I actually made the video about it, but I went out there with my gamma ray spectrometer where you can actually tell what elements are present to show that it was thorium. And yeah, Fukushima, I doubt it's even detectable now. You know, basically, even when you're right outside Fukushima, even Chernobyl. So I want to cover that one briefly. Yeah, there is this thing that the Russians had dug into this radioactive ground, and there was someone going on CNN saying, look, it sets off the radiation alarm. The radiation alarm was going off at like 50 microsieverts per hour or something. And that's only like twice what you get on an airplane. And that's outside Chernobyl. James Craig for £50 says, well done on 1 million. Raimspot for €5 says something in Russian, which I can't read at all. But thank you anyway. Tomasz Kunlife for £10. Thunderfoot, love the content. Educational, funny, and entertaining. Can't wait to see the bust of the next dehumidifier in fancy packaging. That's just never going to end. That I debunk probably 5% of the dehumidifier scams. somewhere on one of these monitors, I have something where I've saved all of the tabs of these free water from air devices, and they just go on and on and on and ugh. Explain yourself for $1, says nothing. Jake for $10 has Happy Dancing Cat. Benjamin Fairhall for $10 Australian. This is I guess my first ever donation. You deserve it for the years you put in. Thank you, Benjamin. Chopper Gamer for another currency that I've never seen. MYRRM. And 15 of them. Hey, Thunderfoot, been a fan since 2010. That's, I think that was my last year in America. I have one question. Have you any thoughts on Ray Kurzweil's Singularity, the book and the predictions? Congrats on the 1 mil. So on the Singularity stuff, some of these things naturally run into barriers. Like we're well past the end of Moore's law. This thing where CPUs double in, or the transistors halve in size every 2 years or something. And with batteries, it's never existed, and with gas, it's never existed. We still fuel our cars with basically exactly the same fossil fuel we did 100 years ago. Then this is because, some things have a natural limit to them. And that's basically where we're at with gas. It's not far off where we're at with batteries. And so this idea that, if something's improving, that it's going to improve forever. No. David McDonald, says Dancy Happy Thing for $5. Thank you. Tagsy Loot for $20 says nothing. Tammy Curious for €5. I'm butchering so many of these names. Congrats on the 1 mil. Great work raising the skepticism. Thank you. Smiley face. Thank you. Michael B for $5. Sub to your channel in the Why Do People Laugh at Creationist with the song of Figaro playing towards the end. Beautiful song, beautiful video. Yeah, glad you appreciate it. Glad you liked it. Joseph Ellis for $5. Forgot to mention when you went to the folks at Westboro Baptist Church, that was hilarious. You're a legend. Congrats. Yeah, that was one of my few sort of Westboro Baptist Church. They're the sort of God hates gays sort of folks. They were batshit crazy. But this is another one of the ones that I meant to do as a follow-up video. Is one of the girls who I was talking to there, who was at the time young, beautiful girl, but sort of locked into this, cult. She has since escaped and became normal. Yeah, it's one of the things I always wanted to do, a sort of catch-up thing with her, to see what, basically to see what her experiences were. Anyway, Kraken, £20. I remember donating to Thunderfoot years ago, and emailed me to say thanks, guys, class. I wish I could do more, but there are, between the research, making the videos, I wish I had more time to do stuff. Anyway, thanks for the years of content. COVID and Ukraine videos have been super interesting. Thank you, Kraken. Quasirati for €5. If there wouldn't be any money limit, what would your experiment and research, and what would it do like? So this is one which I've actually thought about proposing, right? So in space, there aren't actually that many experiments that you can do, or there aren't that many interesting experiments that you can do, because really, what do you need microgravity for? However, this thing where you're bending the streams of water in electric fields, what you're really doing there is you're distorting the surface tension. And of course, in space, water is fantastic because you get water in space, it just instantly forms balls and sits there. So what does it look like when you start putting water in space in an electric field? So you should actually be able to sort of stably create all of these weird water structures. So yeah, it would be a weird experiment to basically water in electric fields on board the ISS, but you need high voltages for it, and applying for the time is a pain in the ass. Anyway, Joseph Ellis for another for $50 doesn't say anything, but thank you. Sir Leo for $5. Thanks for the years of entertainment. Thank you. Justice for $5 says, I think you'd like Bad Religion. They're a mix of science, religion, and politics. It remind me of the front man with his PhD in zoology from Cornell. I've often wanted, so if I had the time, I wouldn't mind doing some stuff like that, songs about science. But yeah, if I had the time. Ola for 50 crowns, passed with distinction on my first course with radiation physics at Gothenburg University. Thanks for all the inspiration. Congratulations on the pass with distinction. KFP Inspector, £20. Love the videos, always interesting. Keep up the good work. If you want to laugh at a good old joke, the Cara Pure is currently at over 800,000 pounds on Indiegogo. Maybe this one will work. Oh, that's another one of those Ward of Mayor devices, which I also saw on EEV blogs. Yeah, I mean, I want to debunk them all, but yeah, I also, there are only so many times you can tell people that it's the thermodynamics of boiling and condensing water means that getting water from the air will never be economical. Yeah. So Spiny Norman for 10 Canadian says, can you cover the Canadian coronavirus updates? Been keeping my Ontario family members updated with your videos. Heart emoji. So the coronavirus worldwide is going down very nicely. And interestingly enough, places that it's surging is places that were doing very well early on. So you take a look at who are the people doing worse with coronavirus at the moment. It's China again. China is back on the charts, having been off it for forever. And also South Korea. Sorry. Again, I am so sorry. So, yeah. And meanwhile, places like America, they're going down nicely. I wanted to do the comparison between how America had, when you're looking at these things historically, how did they do versus America? Are there any differences between the different healthcare systems? Never quite got around to it, but I'll thanks for that, Spiny. Buy Martis for $10. Oh Lord, won't buy me a Mercedes-Benz. My Honda's done. Oh Lord, won't buy me a Mercedes-Benz. My Honda's done, busted up by those damn aliens. They play with my butt, and now it depends. So Lord won't buy me a Mercedes-Benz. I think those are lyrics from something. AB for $5. They're buffering you because they don't want you to know they can't math. Chris Anderson says, have a duck. I mean, a drink on me. I do actually have. I got a fluffy duck. It's one of the spoofs that I was going to do. And I was going to dangle it around on a fishing rod and film it in the infrared. And, UFO! UFO! Gregory Jones, specs on the optics. I assume that's for the telescope. The big ass telescope is a Celestron CPC 1100, 11-inch Schmidt Cassegrain, 2.5 meter focal length, I think. weighs as much as one person can sensibly carry. It's not a light or easy to move around telescope. Ethan Gaxi for $5 says, thanks for the vids, definitely alien birds. Jordan Kennedy, thanks Thunderfoot, thank you. Philip Tenoro, $5, thank you. Bradley Smith, for $1 is smiley face. Scorpio ATX, what is this countdown? I'm not entirely sure. Rico Toro for $10 is Dancing Bird. Sylor FPV, first person video, for 100 Czech crowns. Thanks for promoting sanity. Much appreciated. Black Jungle for 5 somethings. Zinc is the silver bullet. Now you've lost me. Pick a metal. You're right. So the zinc is the silver bullet is definitely one of these bogus coronavirus references. Sorrow for $10 says nothing. Leesaw, £5. Orange Man bad. Yeah. And also Orange Man climate science denier and coronavirus. What was it? Hydroxychloroquine. Ugh. Yeah. Sean for $20. Damn, he dropped a knowledge hammer on these fools. And still MC acts. I like that. And still MCs act like they don't know. MCs, Master of Ceremonies? Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Sean. Swiftstar for Hong Kong dollars, 10 says nothing. Junk Saint, $15. Appreciate the videos. Be honest, am I gonna die? I might. I'm getting there. The pile of tissues on this desk is getting silly, like seriously silly. Like, don't look. Don't look. Oh. Or we're going to be infected, and testing is slowing the numbers. Yeah. I think we're on the wind down with the coronavirus. Globally, that's the way that it looks like. Which, yeah, thankfully, so that's one of the ones that I want to stick it to the Discover Institute over with if there is new information, then it must have been designed. Well, okay. No human could have designed the coronavirus, and not in terms of predicting how it would move through bodies and civilizations. Therefore, intelligent design. Anyway, Patrick Pinder for $10. Keep up the good work. Wondering if you saw Malex's take on the overestimate of the mortality rate on the cruise ship as a model. To a degree, the number of confirmed cases worldwide is, the number of deaths is 6 million. So, you add 2 zeros on that. 6 billion. No. 600 million confirmed cases. The death rate's been fairly constant at about 1% of people who have tested positive have died. But, obviously, a lot of these are the older folk. And but it's always been about 1%. Rogue Internet Man for $5. Fantastic work, Thunderfoot. Gamer for $5 says, glad to see you're still healthy. Some articles about COVID-19, speculation that a vaccine might not be possible. Hopefully it's wrong. The viruses mutate, and there is so much coronavirus in the world that you expect a gazillion mutations, and some of those you expect to behave differently. Hopefully Jeffrey Green says, thank you for $5. Dennis for $5 says, a long time fan. Thanks for doing what you do. Thank you. QF Glenn for $10. Physics taught me increasing temperature increases resistance until the electrons stop flying and shut down the electric and magnetic fields. So how does magnetism create magnetic fields? The complicated stuff. Magnets, how do they work? Electron spin. But where are we at? Random 1208, $5. Jeff Bezos could buy every homeless person in America a house and still be a billionaire. How can we can't save people from the coronavirus? Yeah, there's a lot of... Yeah, I'm always kind of torn on these sort of obsequiously rich people, in that there isn't... I like capitalism. Capitalism is great. Hang on. Yeah, yeah, capitalism is great, but when you get to the point where one person has enough wealth to buy everyone in a country a house or some crap, it doesn't matter. The principle is there. There is no conceivable way that they could have sort of earned this amount, or contributed this much wealth. And at the end of the day, it's basically people sitting in charge of big sums of money, and they're just taking 1 or 2% out of it. And of course, once you're moving huge sums of money around, it just means you get very rich. So, Jordan for £2 says, once and for all, do trains need conductors? Nice pun on conductors. JCX, education and science for the win. What's your outro music? It's called Riding by Silent Partner, and it's on the YouTube. If you go onto YouTube in the audio library, it's in the audio library. It's called Riding by Silent Partner. Adrian Matt for 25 rons says, party something. 23 forever 23. 25. I go for 25. 25 was the best. Phil, what's your end game? TV star, world recognition, political advisor, marriage and kids. So there was this middle time when I was both doing the scientific stuff and trying to do lots of YouTube. At that sort of point, I basically had very little in the way of social life. And I've always been kind of a lone wolf. And if you take a look at my apartment, it basically looks like a science lab. There is some doubt about whether anyone, any sane person could sort of, say, this is normal, I could live with this person. But I mean, other than that, I'm very happy. If I'm going to do my, get my sodium stuff to burn, if I can get a few things, work out how lightning happens, I'll be a happy man at that. Drindal for some zloty, 25 zloty, been a fan for years from the Venom Fax. Greetings from Poland. Yo Mode for $8 Australian dollars. Should do a video on Elon Musk companies. I've done. Which companies have done well next? It would be good for a frame of reference. Yeah, I mean, you got to be objective about these things. Anyway, Reggie just sends $50. Thank you, Reggie. Bacchus Wraith for £20. Love the videos, especially love the origin plus space videos. Just want to say, someone who's studying chemistry at university, the videos give a real perspective. Also, may I ask your opinion on Pothole of 54? That guy, I'm sorry, at this point, I'm fading here, so I'm going to have to get a drink. But Potholer is an absolute legend. So he goes back as far as me, I think. And his videos are always exceptionally well researched. I mean, for the large part, I try to keep stuff sufficiently. You have to be able to explain the important concepts using things that most people know, or it's literally so widely known that it's on Wiki. That's for me is the sort of gold standard, and like that, it's you've made it so obvious that you don't really need to go into the scientific literature. I mean, once you're into that, the number of people who can understand it is very very limited. He does do all that, and he does it phenomenally well. And Pothole of 54 is an absolute legend. If you are going to subscribe to anyone, yeah, let's go through the list. Pothole of 54, definitely. EEV blogs, definitely. Common Sense Skeptic, definitely. And there's a load more as well. JR Chadwick, back from the Creationist busting days. Right, what else we got? David Beckett. For £10. Basically, it's because of sodomized electrons. That's a this shows that I'm not bullshitting. That's a Brass Eye reference. Sodomized electrons cause rush to the head end of the cow, causing it to explode. Seriously, they get like movie stars to read this stuff out. Go take a look at Brass Eye on Science. Black Turbine says, money printer go replace red ink. Hang on, these are, and that's it on the super chats. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. Unless I've missed some. I'm still an awful noob when it comes to streaming. Yes, there aren't that many things I've streamed. Oh no, there are some more. There are some more. Congrats on the 1 million. This is Philistron. I wish I had a science teacher like you. Again, these are things that really do give you some inspiration. Any thoughts on flying cars? Even Elon Musk says that flying cars are bullshit. This, of course, was when he wasn't actually promoting his own flying car using cold gas thrusters. But in that video where I'm going, Elon Musk is pimping out the boring tunnels, that very first video, he's in there saying that flying cars is impossible. There's too much downdraft. They're basically helicopters. They cost too much. They're going to kill people. So yeah, flying cars isn't going to happen. Also, there are people who have made sort of wingsuits and all this sort of thing, and they look very cool and fun. But the thing is that if anything goes wrong with these little hover things, you die pretty quick. Yeah, it's like the jetpacks. People don't survive when they drop from more than a few meters, or at even sensible speeds. T-Pog for €20. Been watching for 10 years. Best channel on YouTube. Thank you, T-Pog. Thanks for the countless hours information and entertainment. If you ever need a guide to hike in Eastern Austrian Alps, Yeah, from who casually likes Garrick, casually quotes Garrick, let me know. That's awesome. Someone else who's Deep Space Nine fan. Jay for €5. Get yourself a spray bottle. I wish I had. Actually, I wish I had some acetone. Usually, I've got quite a lot of solvents around here, and I know acetone is fantastic at clearing out your nose, but I don't have any. But anyway, thank you for the $5. I will go and get my nose cleaned out very, very soon. Oh, this is horrific. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm getting comments down here as well. Get some nasal spray for God's sake, Phil. How long have we been doing this? This stream's been going on for a while. Right. Ryan E, I was going to invest in the Hyperloop, solar powered roads, and great clean drinking water from the air. But now I'll send you the money instead. Thank you, Ryan. That's what gets me. $500 million has been invested in the Hyperloop. Nuo X for £5. What happened to your mass spec? I, in the plaque case, waited 2 years for the video. So it's one of these really interesting things that when I was monitoring the weight loss of myself, I also did it for all the people in the lab, and found out that I lose weight about twice as fast as everyone else. And so the next phase was I had to measure everyone's breath, which is another one of those projects that has been on the list for some time. In the meanwhile, I've used it for other. It's very good for isotopes, detecting isotopes. And so one of the things that I do intend to do is try isotopic separation. Now, isotopic separation is something that you don't usually worry about because these are elements that are very basically same chemistry, very slightly different chemical properties. But this is what you've got to do if you want to separate uranium-235 from 238. I have, of course, the uranium, and I was going to try and do some small-scale separation, which is absolutely against every nuclear treaty violation. However, that being said, just putting it into a mass spec technically separates the ions. So, in principle, you're doing it just by running it through a mass spec. But Mr. Smith for $10 says, "God bless you." Yeah, and right back at you, Mr. Smith. John No for $20. You rock. You're going to move back to the US. I would love to move back to the US. Especially, ironically, the places that most Americans try to avoid, which is the big open. I miss New Mexico. The beautiful skies that you get there. I really miss that. PMATS for $20 says, "Congrats on reaching 1 million. Thank goodness we have NASA for doing real science versus Musk and his Star Trek fantasies." EDC Wrist for 10 says, "When I first found you, I was homeschooled in science classes, being told the Earth was 10,000 years old. I didn't know any better. You opened my eyes. Thank you. I can't thank you enough." And it's for things like that. That's what it's really nice to hear that sort of thing. I'm glad that it helped out EDC. Exo Lid for 5 says, "Congrats on 1 million. Been watching you since the early 2010s. Thanks for not blocking me on Twitter like Kyle Hill did after I suggested a collab." Actually, yeah, so I've ruffled an awful lot of feathers over the years. If I remember rightly, I think he was one of the ones who was into the Team Trees thing. And yeah, the Team Trees it was a bandwagon thing at the time, all except kind of one guy who, yeah, planting trees is almost operationally insignificant, and it takes an awful long time. This is the thing. When I was driving through Colorado the last time I was there, Colorado, Wyoming, the effects of global warming can be seen there in the pine beetle destruction, and it just goes on for mile after mile. You're just driving through these avenues of dead trees as far as the eye can see, and this is because the winters are a little warmer and the pine beetles now can kill the trees. And a million trees doesn't even scratch the surface on just the damage from the pine beetles. Anyway, Gabriellum for 70 Norwegian crowns. Thanks for the science. Keep doing what you do. Will do. Mr. Buttwink for 55 crowns. Is this video sponsored by Fontus? Not since they went bankrupt. Oh, my word. Paco Suava for 4,000 cop dollars, whatever they are, has a very happy dancing dog. Yeah, 4,000 sounds awesome. $4,000, yeah. Cop dollars, whatever cop dollars are. Pac-Man Steven for £2 says hi. Nacho Unlimited for $10. I don't know how much YouTube takes, but here's something for a glass later. I'll do that. Nachos Unlimited. Oh, I could go for some nachos now. And some pizza. Oh, getting the munchies. Blacksmith, I think. Yeah, Blacksmith. Yeah, okay. For €3, it gives me a bird with a big thumbs up. Voita, Shazak, 100 crowns. Says nothing. Bronze Division, good place to start. After all this, do we get a wider people after Creationist video with a supercut of all the estimated religious leaders claiming it isn't real and they're praying it away? Yeah, I will go back. One of the next videos in the next month will be a wider people laugh at Creationist video. Rogue Internet Man says, keep up the fantastic work, my dude. Will do. Gabe for $15. Using the numbers for the rest of the world, can you do the math to show us what China's real numbers are? Well, they're real now. They're basically the number one infected country in the world. So this is one of the downsides of doing very well early on, is there weren't loads of people who got infected, which means that you are still... you only have two ways of sort of vaccinating people. It's vaccination by infection and vaccination by vaccination. So yeah, China's had a spike that was much bigger. I remember in the early days of the coronavirus, there was everyone was looking at China and it's like, oh yeah, it's going crazy there, but everyone else is fine. And then China managed to sort of get it under control, and everyone else in the world went crazy. And yeah, that big first spike in China is now dwarfed by the recent outbreaks that they've had in China. Lex Drone Adventures says, keep up the good work. Thank you. Anthony De Angelis says, for $2, Thunderfoot is awesome. Thank you. Blacksmith for a €10 does a Dancy Bird. Give me $4. It gives me €5 and a guy exercising. Esteban for 2,000 ARS dollars. Hola. Trooper Lee. Okay. Espero. Okay, I've got no idea. But thank you anyway. DS5252, $2. Thunder. Urs for 2 francs. Says nothing. I love Scotch. $2. Thank you. I love broccoli. 25 Swiss francs. Hippie stuff for $10 is a Superman bronze division. $5. China. Oh, hang on. This is so weird. It mixes up some of the old ones. Right, where are we at? Thanks for all the great videos. Love watching the videos. The beauty of the universe. This is from Wingborg. Love to watch that stuff again. Yeah, that was back in the days when I hadn't even got as far as HD video. It's still, even now, it's mostly 720 is where I do most of the stuff. Svers for 7,500 ISKs. Says, congrats on the 1 million subs. Love the content. Need more people like you. I concur. Alexis XY for 100 Czech crowns. There's a plant in Czech named Rimovnik. It releases some essence when rubbed on the hands. Works well for nose relief. I will seek it out the second I'm off stream. I should have done it before. Australia is not real. For $5 says, I just want to say hi. And if we can make a massive railgun to send things to space. Yeah, you can, but railguns tend to peak out at about 3 kilometers per second, which is half the velocity you need for orbit and 1/4 of the energy. So not happening anytime soon. Leporus for $5 Congrats on the subs. And there's a molecular drinks printer which says it can make an infinite number of drinks called a canner, which I will look into. Bassam for $8 gives me a huggy bear kissing a fish, I think. Zepral, 10 New Zealand dollars. I understand the Elon Musk fan backlash. You crushed my reality in the early days of the pandemic. When you said it would be 2 years, I was grumpy and stopped watching the channel, but you were right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the early days. Well, the forecast for America's worst case scenario was 3 million, 2 million dead. 2, 3, whatever. And in the end, it's going to end up at about 1 million. So, yeah. Ivan Kilpatrick for $10. What companies had the highest and lowest paid employees tied together such that the highest paid employee, including benefits and bonuses, could make 100 times more than the lowest paid employee? I'm not sure. Colm for €5. Thanks for your opening my mind. Do you follow Matt Dillahunty? Me and Matt Dillahunty had a falling out over. Actually, I think it was the Atheism Plus days. And he said some nasty things about me. He called me dishonest, and honest. For me, you take a look at what I've done the last 10 years. I've not dwelled. I don't waste my time in hate and regret. Well, a little bit of regret. But Matt Dillahunty, no, I appreciate people who stick in there and fight the good fight. And Matt Dillahunty is one of those who did. and I've got no idea whether, as far as I'm concerned, as far as he's concerned, whether I'm dead to him. Aaron Ra, I've heard numerous times that I'm utterly dead to him, and nothing will ever undo the things that I've done and said over the years, which is a bit of an irony because on two fronts. First of all, I actually kind of respect the guy. He also is another one who is stuck in the game and he made anti-creationist videos to this day, and I respect that a lot. But also, I mean, this is going back a long, long way. He made good videos. Even back then, he made good videos, but they were sorely underappreciated. It was, if you like, it was me who gave him that little kick to sort of bump him up in and got his stuff more seen in the early days. In fact, there were a few like that. Shoe on Head was actually another one where I linked her. She made a few fantastic videos, like absolutely awesome videos, and I made something promoting one of them, and that I've since seen her say that that was transformative for her, but and she's gone on to be a very solid content. I mean, okay, not really my kind of content, but you can't take it away from her that she's done fantastically well, and all of that credit goes straight to her. I mean, yeah, I gave her a little push very early on, but yeah, but that was also true. Yeah, no, I respect both Aaron and Matt Delahanty. People I don't. PC Myers, for reasons. Kevin O'Connor says, for £20, you may be more stamina, 3+ more hours of stream, I haven't gone to bed. Yeah, good night. Good night, dude. K for $10 Canadian says, long time fan, what's the opinion on carbon capture? So the sensible place to do it is when you're burning it, whatever, coal plants or gas plants, is you capture it on site. Capturing it once it's diluted into the atmosphere is just making a rod for your own back. It's much more energy intensive that way. But other than that, there's some sort of sense to it that you bleed the gas out of the porous rocks, you burn it, you make carbon dioxide. You inject the carbon dioxide back into the ground where it sort of stays. They're sort of bridge technologies, but some of it's sensible. Rayfall for €20. Love your content. Congrats on the 1 million. Thank you. Ryland for $10. Would you like some spicy soup? I certainly would. And it's so weird the way these super chats are all mixed up. Yars for $2 says, what causes gout? I don't actually know. Nursing student for $5. Been watching forever. Love the content. It's got me through many a study session. Good to hear it. Graduating this summer. Thanks for the noise. Glad to have helped with some background noise. Phil S for £5. Elon Musk will save us from Cthulhu, and he also invented the light bulb and the whatever sliced bread. And Keat for €10 says, videos are wonderful, offer insight people are basically overlooked with first principles. Any comment on the mega companies such as large projects doing first principle calculations? So yeah, there are big projects out there, but there's almost a tautology that if it's easy to do, people have done it already. And so, yeah, the big stuff like fusion, making fusion work, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Caden Fox for $2 says, "What's your favorite charities?" Simply, I would defer to Pothole54 because not only does he make fantastic videos, he gives all of the money that he makes to charity. Or he says, "Don't give me money, give it to charity," which is like, yeah, I mean, massive respect to that guy. And it's some charity that they do sort of sustainable farming or something. I forget. Ryan, few bucks for a box of tissues. Thank you, Ryan. Justice, have you ever taken psychedelics or want to? No. The worst drug that I've ever taken is alcohol. But I've gone kind of a little funny in the pandemic years. So in the first year of the pandemic, I grew strawberries. And, this was the first time I'd ever grown something from seeds that I actually ate. And that was kind of fun. And so the next year, I grew sweet corn because I'd never grown sweet corn before. So this was on top of the radioactive carrots. I grew the carrots next to uranium and then ate them with my Christmas lunch on a radioactive plate. That was fun. But this year, sort of randomly, I'm growing something that's kind of five-fingered and spiky, even though I've never taken drugs like that in my life. But yeah, whatever. It's sort of legal, so it's just more out of just curiosity than anything else. Although this might get screwed if I have to go on fake. If I'm going to go to Las Vegas, and ride the loop, it might be tricky. Anyway, Cash Johnson for $10. Get me off this planet, please. I don't want to just leave the planet. I want to leave. Actually, that's mixed in from a different video. And I think that is it. Yeah. Yep. I think we're done. So, with that monster session, God, when did we start? Holy crap, this has almost been going on for 4 hours. Ouch. Yeah, so, and one last donation from $1 Billion Dan. Congratulations, thoroughly enjoyed the content. And another one comes in. Yay or nay, Elon Musk buying Twitter? Nay. It's not going to happen. I doubt he has the money and they don't want to sell it to him, so everyone's kind of a winner like that. More live streams and actually, let's see if we can. Shouldn't I be up in the corner there? Let's go up there for fun. Okay, so I think at that, tell me how you really feel about Elon Musk. He used to be okay, not so much anymore. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the hell I'm going to do with this thing. You see, I don't have a lot of things that I put up on walls, and the stuff that I have lying around here tends to be weird scientific stuff that, yeah, this will be out of place. Yeah. So what does it say? Presented to Thunderfoot for passing 1 million subscribers. And yeah, I'm fairly happy with that one. And Chris Morel says, one last one. You've been inspiration since I was 14. Now I'm nearly 28. Congrats on the 1 million subs. Thank you, Christopher. Okay, and at that, I think I'm going to call it a wrap. And many thanks to everyone for watching. Much appreciated. transition over there like that. And thank you, Richard Harrison. And I will see you all in the next video. So, actually, let's do a zoom out. Let's do a galaxy zoom out. We started by zooming in. Let's leave the galaxy. There's the sun and the stars, and finally the Milky Way. At that, good night, folks. Have a good one.